sweat. I wonder if it's too late to block out all the sunlight, block out all the sunlight. I'm a little scattered, but nothing really matters, so everything is alright. Tomorrow is a new fight. Everything I'm choosing and every grip I'm losing, it's all about what you want and what you need and what you're getting. Nothing more confusing to cover up abusing. With every kiss you send, a ruse you bend, your black magic. Oh, 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 black magic. Oh, oh, oh. I met you on a Monday and already by the next day you had me on your pillow, wrapped around your finger. You're a pretty devil, seducing every level of decency inside of me, evenly dividing me. Everything I'm choosing and every grip I'm losing, it's all about what you want and what you need and what you're getting. Nothing more confusing to cover up abusing. With every kiss you send, a ruse you bend, your black magic.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to Octane Online Racing. It's the Sprint Series night again, Thursday here, and it's the AP Blue and AP Red tonight for the Asia Pacific splits. And on a wonderful Thursday here, we're at Monza. It's round 9 of 10, coming up towards the last part of this season for the entire Sprint Series, which is getting very, very exciting. We've had some brilliant racing recently. We've been at Bathurst last week, as has most of Australia and most people in the world who've been watching the Bathurst 1000, of course, which was very, very cool, very enjoyable here, of course, especially as a Kiwi, although I won't mention that too much. But it is tonight the Simrigs Sprint Series, and we're going to be having a whole bunch of fun here. 60 minutes at Monza for round 9. There are 3 mandatory pit stops tonight, and that is going to introduce some challenges, let's just say. Very hot out there on track at the moment, currently 36 degrees on track, 28 degrees Celsius is the ambient temperature. And yes, your commentators tonight, myself, George Cook, and we've got Mike Crick in the box as well. Of course, our lovely broadcaster, Glenn Germain. But welcome in, Mike. Good to have you in here tonight. How are you?
Yeah, good, George. How are you doing?
Doing very good, thank you very much. And I think we're all looking forward to this. Both you and I raced last night in the Wednesday split, AP Yellow and AP Green, and it was hot, furious, and tiresome. I don't think there was any vomiting or passing out in the medical centre, though, as far as I understand it. I don't think anyone was having too many problems last night. Although I understand you've got a bit of a sore throat today.
Yeah, just a little bit, although entirely unrelated to my poor performance at Monza last night. But you're not wrong, because the 3 stops does make it all very interesting. It's a bit of a different dynamic. It is purely coincidental that we've done this on the same weekend that the F1 decided to do it, which I think is just quite funny. Entirely different reasons. They were doing it to Tyler. We were doing it just to spice things up. Yeah, it does make it kind of interesting because you basically get a couple of sprint races all in a row. Nobody's worried about tyre wear. Nobody's worried about pushing too hard. So everyone's basically doing big qualifying sessions lap after lap. Yeah, it does make it interesting. It goes a little bit wide there through Ascari and then just to keep that portion under control.
Yeah, that's the whole thing about the fast sort of hot lap situation. Hot laps for 60 minutes, not easy, and it does start to get into the realms of who can make as fewer mistakes as possible. It usually does at the end of the day, but in this case, hot lapping around Monza for 60 minutes is not particularly easy, not the easiest thing in the world. And we do have our first hot laps being set. Grant Beck goes to the top with a 148.195. We haven't seen too many people get into the 46s at this kind of track temperature. There's not a massive amount of grip out there when the temperatures get this hot, and you might have 1 or 2 laps at optimal PSIs, and then the tyres start to go through the roof, really.
Yeah, we're not going to be seeing too many blazingly fast lap times here. I think, as you said, sort of the 47s are really it. As Convoy's gone to the top there with a 47.2, so pretty good opening lap from him, although I'm sure we'll see an improvement on that. But yeah, pretty good start, 7/10 out of Reynolds already.
Yeah, that's actually massive. And yeah, as always, making the commentators eat our words, quite literally in this case, because he's only 2/10 off of a 46, and that's a 2 flat as well, a very flat 47.2, so well done to Jamie Convoy. We'll see some more laps, I'm sure, come up very, very soon. Currently on board with Chris Taylor. And while we're watching the second lap go through, I think it's time for us to quickly run through the standings as it is in at the end of round 8 and see exactly where people are standing. So we might get that up on screen as well. But I will start to talk us through who's in the lead. We were very, very close towards the end of Bathurst, but the Bathurst race did change things quite substantially. Jamie Convoy now leads the Pro class on 1,027 points, so he's started to get that lead into a nice, comfortable area, although, you know, only 65 points there between him and Ethan Cale. Ethan Cale not having necessarily the best last couple of races, but at the end of the day, he's still up there and in it. He was 2nd place at Bathurst last week. Jamie Convoy obviously took the victory and took the fastest lap. And then we've got, in 3rd place, Joshua Vediger, who unfortunately didn't grace us with his presence at Mount Panorama. And he's fallen slightly off the back of these two, but currently in 3rd for Pro Class. Silver Class being led by Cameron Thistlethwaite at the moment in the Mercedes AMG, 635 points. Jake McKellar and Leela Bell hot on his heels for that silver category. And then we've got Steve Lewis leading Pro-Am at the moment with Neil Wood and Ashley Vediger down there. Overall P13, P14 for them, but P2 and 3 respectively in Pro Class. And then we've got Jamie Lawrence currently leading us away in the AM class as it stands right now. Very respectable 15th overall. Sebi is sitting in P17, P2 in AM class, and then we've got Bennett Ring sitting in P20 to round out our split. So those are the standings as it is right now. And I think Jamie Convoy is in a great position to round out this season with a potential victory in Pro Class.
Yeah, absolutely. Plenty to play for, though. Still, it's not exactly a Max Verstappen lead, but he is in the lead fairly comfortably. But he'll want to have a good race tonight just to secure that first place. He's looking to win this championship in his beloved McLaren, which has sort of finally come back into good standings with the update, and he's pretty happy about that, I'm sure.
Certainly, and I certainly am as well, as a bit of a McLaren fanboy, I think is the word, the technical term for it. We're currently on board with Ethan Cale at the moment. He's went to set a 147.477, but he just lost that time into Parabolica, so that's a little bit unlucky there for the 52 Lamborghini, and he comes straight into the pits and won't be setting that lap. But that was actually pretty close to Convoy, only 0.27 of a second off the top time as it stands right now. Now on board with McLaws. Doing doing pretty well. He's had some great performances earlier on in the season in the 42 McLaren. And you're right, the McLarens have sort of come back into their own in the 1.9 patch. Obviously, the introduction of the 720S Evo has been a significant improvement as well earlier on. But yeah, I mean, these last few races, it's pretty strong at Panorama, it's pretty strong at Monza, and it's hopefully pretty strong at Spa as well. I'll find out when I start practicing for that later next week.
Yeah, it's a pretty strong car overall. It's, as many would say, the obvious choice, really. But the question there in chat is Jamie Combo right foot breaker? And yes, he is. He does only drive with his right foot, so he doesn't use 2 feet in his braking. It's just the one right foot braking, which is pretty crazy considering most sim races in ACC will use both feet. And in fact, most real life drivers will actually use both feet in these types of cars because they don't have a manual clutch pedal. So yeah, it is interesting how he's able to get those times, and he's got that technique really dialed in.
I think we need to ask him to do a stream where he gives us a foot-only camera, so we can actually see what's going on. Oh, he has.
You can check him out on Twitch. Yeah, JC1 on Twitch if you want to watch his point of view. I'm sure he'll be twitching tonight. I guess twitching is twitching the right term for when you're on Twitch, or shouldn't I?
I actually have no idea. I mean, I'm a Twitch streamer as well. I've never called it twitching, but that seems extremely appropriate.
Does, right? Does. But yeah, still currently, that 47.2 is holding. So we might not see any improvement on that, because as you said, it is a pretty stonking lap time in these conditions. Kale getting closer, but still just 3/10 off that time. And even Conde hasn't managed to improve it just yet.
Exactly right. And I'm not sure if we're going to see Joshua Vettiger out on the track today. We do have Ashley Vettiger out on the track, that's why I did say that. But it doesn't look like we have Joshua here today again. So that P3 slot, which is usually occupied by either Convoy, Kale, or Joshua Vettiger, is currently vacant. And yeah, Grant Gregg has currently filled that. He's sitting about nearly 5/10 of a second off of Convoy's time, which is very, very nice. We're on board with Convoy once again. Currently down on his sector times, going through Les Mode 2 at the moment. Does he find a bit of time on exit? No, he doesn't. Maybe just rode that curve just a little bit too much. I mean, Mike, you're an AMG driver, so the AMG usually chunks up the curves pretty nicely. Is it quite good through Les Mode?
Yeah, I mean, if there's a curb, the Mercedes doesn't know about it because it just eats all of the curbs as you go through, like especially through Ascari, it just eats them, absolutely. No worries at all. It's the only car I've ever driven where you can just completely ignore the curves. Like, I thought the Bentley was like pretty good over curves, but the new Mercedes after the patch just makes it look ridiculous. Yeah, it's pretty strong around here at Monza. It does have that straight line speed. It's not quite as good as the McLaren. It doesn't quite have that same level of aerodynamic balance. But with the cars, with this, different pit strategy, it does even out some of the cars a little bit. Because a car like the Porsche, for instance, which can suffer a bit of tyre wear, doesn't suffer as much when you get to get fresh tyres as often as you do. So it does sort of balance out some of the cars that are a little bit hard on their tyres. I mean, the AMG is one of those as well. The AMG is really hard on its tyres because it's a big heavy boat at the end of the day, isn't it? So yeah, it's interesting to see that, how that changes the balance.
Yeah, too right. There will be a bit of a battle between consistency and managing your tyres, especially with the track temperatures the way they are today. We just saw Cook there go up into P3 with a very nice lap. We've got some very interesting flat times here. 147.2 flat from Convoy, now a 147.6 flat from Cook. So very, very nice sort of even times between all of them. And Cook is still finding time out on track in that lovely Sprite livery. We've been talking about that in the last few streams here in the comms box, and yeah, it makes me rather thirsty, I have to admit. A quick comment here from Chris Cooley saying, hello commentators, the Aston is back, just not in this series. It's back, all caps. The current drivers in shambles, all caps. I'm not sure how much I agree with that statement, I'll be honest, but the thought of him in an Aston always does scare me just a little.
Yeah, well, it's obviously referring to the decision to do some more custom BOP in future series, particularly the Endurance series, where we are going to use a customized BOP, which is going to bring some of the other cars back. I mean, my beloved Nissan has dropped 40 kilos, in terms of weight, which is interesting. So I'm keen to see how much better it is. But I'm not sure it's going to completely make it a competitive car again. But I'm very interested to see what Mr. Lucas Burrs does with the car now that it's got 40 kilos less, because he's able to make it go fast even with that extra weight. So yeah, it's a good thing. I'll be interested to see how it shakes it up, but definitely not using that custom BOP tonight. We are just using Kunos's standard BOP for this race.
That's exactly right. And I'm on board with Kale once again. He's found a little bit more entry speed, but I think that's going to be dropped on the exit. Yes, it is. Yeah, it's a real trade-off between entry speed and exit speed. I do personally tend to favor the exit speed, just kind of compromise my entries. And yeah, he doesn't go any faster there, 5/100ths of a second down on his previous personal best at today's track. 1 minute 38 remaining in this qualifying. So we are coming up to the last laps now. On board with Jamie Conboy. He's found a couple of tenths here in through the Lesmos in the first sector, doing quite well. I am very much looking forward to the bot that's coming in. It's going to be interesting for Endurance Series, and I think that does shake things up quite a lot. But you're right, this is going to be one to keep an eye on for sure. And yeah, when we go into the break, we've got a couple of housekeeping items to go through as well. But at the moment, look at Conboy, he's flying. Could this be a 46? If he can keep the time, it may well be.
Yeah, he's going for it, isn't he? He's still up. He is at 46 at the moment, and I bet you he can see that on his Delta, and he's chasing it. He'll really want it. Let's see how he goes through the parabolic. He's dropped some time on entry, but he might be taking the reverse and going for the exit. No, he's gone just a touch wide there, so it's not. He's not going to improve on that time, but I still think he's going to be sitting pretty well in pole position, because nobody seems to have managed to get close enough to his time. You see Cook there, still just a tenth off all the main players there, so they've all gone to the pits from P1 to P4, aren't going to be doing any more laps.
Yeah, they're obviously happy with their time, and just noticing we've got Ben Thomas up there as well in the McLaren, the 201 car. For the Pro-Am class, so he's doing very, very well, currently leading the Pro-Am class in qualifying. McLaws is leading us away in the Silver class, and of course Conboy in the Pro class. So I'll have a little look and see who the AM class leader is at some point. But on board Beg, he's found nearly 5/10, just dropped a little bit on the exit of Ascari, and here he goes down the back straight, and he'll have to make up a little bit of that time. In the final corner of Parabolica, very tricky corner to get right. It is looking good.
Jump up a position or two with this time. He's 3/10 up. He's only 4/10 off Conboy.
Oh, and he's held the speed and got a good exit. Yeah, hang about. This is going to be very, very close. What can Beck do? P3. Very, very tidy lap.
Very nice there from Greg.
Tricky to get a lap hooked up properly, and we did see Conboy slightly lose it on Parabolica. And there is Ethan Cale. He's off the side of the track and back to the pits. And now looking at Chris Taylor, who's up by a 10th at the moment. Can Chris do anything in Parabolica? Really tricky corner to get right. I still don't quite know how to navigate it in the fastest way. Every time I do it, I seem to either drop time or gain it. And, oh, yeah, Taylor has decided to take the wider, more exciting line round the no-grip part of Parabolica. And back on board with Conboy, who is improving. He's held that 8/100ths of a second out of the corner, slightly improving. It's going to be a slight improvement. And he'll go across the line for a fastest lap of a 1:47.127. Unfortunately, we haven't seen a 46 today, and I don't think we will at this stage. On board now with Steve Lewis, who's up on his time as well by 0.2 of a second. A Ferrari driver here, so the Tifosi will be screaming for the success of the Ferrari drivers. Currently none up in the top 10, as I understand it right now. Let's see what he can do in the final corner. Yeah, not too bad at all. This will be the last lap. Yep, holding the time nicely, goes through, still finding a bit of time on exit. 3/10 improvement here. This will put him slightly up the grid from P21, and actually, no, stays P21. Did he not cross the line in time there? I think he did, yeah. Okay. All good. Okay, right. So that is our qualifying session as it stands right now. Jamie Conboy goes onto pole position with Brad Cook in P2. Grant Begg has made it up to P3 on track, and Ethan Cale will be in P4, followed by Shane McLaws, Ben Thomas, Ashton Reynolds, Christopher Taylor, Lachlan Parkin, Mitchell Bendick, and then the bottom 11 here, we've got John Carter, Gabriel Salvaggio, Leela Bell in P13, Cameron Thistlewaite, think that's our lead Mercedes driver there in P14. But we'll go through the grid momentarily in full. But I do want to quickly make a mention that if you are inclined to become a Patreon of Octane Online Racing, which of course we do encourage to help support all the fantastic work that the admins, broadcasters, and everyone does in the background of OOR, then we do encourage you to become a patron. And for Simrigs.com, you get a 5% discount, which is always nice. Everyone loves a discount. Righto, so we've got about 1 minute and 50 seconds until our 1 hour race begins. 3 mandatory pit stops with tyre changes for everyone on the grid. And here's our grid walk. Jamie Comboy, excuse me, JC. JC in pole there in his Kovacs Racing McLaren livery. Sprite livery Porsche starting P2. That's Brad Cook there. The 695 car. Begg in the Monster Energy McLaren in P3. Kale in the Lamborghini starting P4. Not a regular starting position for him. Then McLaws is starting P2 in silver class, P5 on the grid. Ben Thomas on the box next to him in P6. And we've got P7 Ashley Reynolds, another McLaren. So that's 5 McLarens already in the top 10. Chris Taylor in the first Ferrari on the grid. I'm sure the Tifosi will be cheering for him. And then we've got Parkin in another McLaren. So that's 6 in total in the top 10. Just shows how dominant this car can be here. Then we've got Bendik in that lovely candy Lamborghini, which we love so much. We've got Carter there in the 559 car, the yellow OES live-read Lamborghini. Then we've got Salvaggio next to him. Leela Bell lines up in P13 with Cameron Thistlethwaite in P14 in that lovely blue Mercedes. Absolutely love that. Bianchini in P15, so another Ferrari driver, second Ferrari driver on the grid in the 407 car. Bowen in P16. P17 is Ashley Vettiger, whose son, Joshua Vettiger, is not racing with us today, unfortunately. So Coca-Cola with sugar, not on the grid with the Coca-Cola Zero Sugar, unfortunately. Then we've got Lawrence, that's top of AM class right there. Sebi, Marsh in P20 at the moment. We've got Steve Lewis in the 959 Ferrari. Lots of Ferraris down the bottom of the grid. Wood in the 600 car. And finally, it is Graham in the 59 Porsche. But that is your grid. And away we go for the formation lap. 60 minutes ahead of us. And the track temperature has increased. So that's something to note. But just got down to about 36 degrees on track during qualifying, which was helping some of the times out there. But back up to 38 degrees Celsius. So there's going to be a little bit of managing tyres here. You don't need to worry about the tyre life as such, but it's really about the PSI and the temperature.
Yeah, definitely. And we have to obviously look at how the start's going to go. So far, we haven't had any clean starts, either split yellow or split green. Both had some pretty tumultuous first couple of laps. So it'll be interesting to see if we can have an improvement with split blue tonight. But Monza turn 1 is always a bit crazy. And even going into this second chicane here can get a bit crazy with traffic. Convoy, obviously, pole position, a good position to be in, because you're generally going to avoid a lot of that chaos that happens. But reasonably small grid tonight, only 23 cars, so that is probably going to help get a little bit of that chaos down. But certainly can get you a few good positions if you just keep yourself clean.
Yeah, exactly right. It is very, very tricky. I mean, through first chicane, it really is a one wide sort of situation. You can go too wide there, but you know, you want to avoid that sort of Hamilton, Max Verstappen sort of situation that we saw back in 2021. Though we won't speak any further about that very cursed Monza race, although it was a tube. But yeah, so Convoy, of course, being P1, will start on the inside line, so he won't have to worry too much about anyone diving up the inside initially. Begg is in a very good starting position as well. Of course, Brad Cook as well will have the outside line, so should be able to get around, but will have to give space on the inside line. So it really just depends on how fast Convoy goes into the corner. Right, so the cars will start to line up side by side. We've got our second camera ready to go, looking at the chicane, which is where the action does happen. It'll be a very interesting start. Of course, we do hope that all the drivers get away nice and cleanly. Want to make sure that they watch where they brake, watch the car ahead, make sure they don't go into the back of someone, as Mike has said. We have had, I mean, you know, it's not an unusual thing. Turn 1, and then, of course, the De La Rochia chicane as well. All the action really happens there until the grid can kind of sort itself out and get into a single file sort of situation. But lap 1, always tricky, especially in these temperatures. Everyone's got to watch out. So here we go, down the main pit straight. Convoy leads us away from Brad Cook, from Begg, from Kale, from McLaws. We're going to be going live for 60 minutes here for round 9 in split blue. Convoy will lead us across the line for the green flag in this session. Good luck to all the drivers out there on the circuit today. Very tricky race, hard conditions, and they've got to be absolutely on point. And we will be going green in about 2 seconds. There we go. So commentators curse for myself already, but it's a good start from Convoy and Cook and Begg. They're already getting into single file, holding that inside line, but nearly 5 wide. There's a couple of 3 wides happening just back there. Oh, be careful, everyone. Everyone's careful on the brake there. Someone has just made up about 3 positions on the outside. Thistleway tries to get through 2s. 2 by 2 they go through the first chicane, and there hasn't been any accidents at all. So split blue, cursed with rain, but cursed also with great, or blessed, I should say, with great race starts, and that is McLaws on the back now. With Thomas right on his back, and we've got Kale up ahead of the Monster Energy McLaren. So Convoy off to a great start. The plug in this bottle is going to be the Sprite livery of Cook at the stands right now. Looks like they've had a clean run through Della Roggia as well. So between turns 1 and 5 on lap 1 at Monza, no action. What's going on, Mike?
I know, yeah, it's absolutely surprising that they've managed to do that, but kudos to all of the drivers so far, but there's always a chance it'll happen on lap 2 as everyone's like, oh, we made it through safely, we made it through turn 1, we're confident now, and then someone sends it into it on lap 2, but so far doing very well. It does look like Cook's a little bit slow at the moment, almost holding up Cavalier, who has gained a position up into 3rd and has taken that 3rd place from Begg on the start, having a good start with that Lamborghini. Yeah, definitely a bit of a cork in the bottle, or whether it's just Convoy. He's absolutely on the pace and he's tearing away at the moment, but so far so good. Kale right on the back here, so we'll see how they go as we begin lap 2.
Yeah, let's hope we have a nice clean lap 2 as well. And that was Begg running a little bit wide there. He'll be under pressure from McLaws, and immediately into the pits goes Kale. I've thought about this strategy a little bit and wondered how many people we're going to see do this, but pit lap 1, get clean air, run hot laps, go hard to the end of the race with the 2 additional pit stops as well. So it looks like Kale and Cameron Thistleway both considering that strategy as the optimal one, and they're going to be going for it. And fair enough, good call from Kale at the end of the day. He might have taken a little bit longer than a couple of laps to get past Cook, who was definitely slowing him a little bit down there. But nonetheless, he will take the alternative strategy. He'll come out in clean air and be able to run some very, very fast laps. So Convoy is essentially in the same situation, but of course he'll be a pit stop down. We'll just need to make sure he keeps on that pace throughout this race. So a couple of running a little bit wide there at the Della Roggia chicane, but all clean so far. I haven't seen a single yellow flag so far. I'm very impressed with Split Blue. I'm sure the race director and the stewards will be absolutely stoked. On board now with Gabriel Salvaggio, I should say, and the number 12 car. A little bit of pressure here, and that was nearly a very close call there. We've got Bell with Bowen, with Sebi, all fighting back there through Lesmo 2.
Yep, so far so good, very clean. Yeah, a couple of those guys pitting early, maybe hoping that there was an incident on lap 2 as I predicted. But it didn't come true, because if the safety car had come out there on lap 2, that really would have gained them quite a bit of time. But just getting out there in clean air, if you're confident in your pace, if you know you've got sort of that raw speed with that clean air, then it is going to pay dividends with this many stops. And yeah, just confirming in chats for you, Spidey, it is 3-stop race tonight, 3 mandatory stops, 4 tyres, with most drivers obviously probably taking fuel as well, considering that the time doesn't give you much of an advantage.
Exactly right. Fast lap now going to Jamie Convoy, set of 147.915. I expect this battle between him and Kale for the fastest lap will go on throughout the race. They'll eventually have their strategies converge towards the end of the race. We will look forward to that. We go into the first chicane once again on lap 3, 55 minutes remaining. And we have had a bit of a question here from Peach. Welcome in, by the way, everyone, to chat. Lovely to have you all in here. We're just asking if there's a penalty coming Begg's way for being out of position on the start grid. Well, we're not sure at this stage. We'll leave that for the stewards to decide, but I didn't notice that.
I did notice he did seem a little bit out of position there, but it looked like it was more to his disadvantage than an advantage. But the stewards will obviously always check all the cars at the start to make sure nobody's speeding and everybody's in the right position, but it can influence people further down the grid even if you've lost out from it. So Could be a penalty, potentially. Hopefully not for Grant, because he has been doing well in qualifying, and he's back up into P3 at the moment. So he'll be hoping that there isn't a penalty coming. But yeah, without seeing a replay, I couldn't make a call just at this point.
We just saw into the Della Roggia chicane, Reynolds trying to make a move on Ben Thomas, who's being followed very, very closely. 4 McLarens in a row there. McLaws is starting to bring out a bit of a gap away from Ben Thomas, but Ben Thomas is under pressure from Reynolds, and Christopher Taylor is in that Ferrari in the number 18 car, putting a bunch of pressure on the back of those two as well. So this fight is going to evolve a little bit. The best place to overtake is usually into turn 1. You can try it around Parabolica as well, not the outside. Do not try around the outside, I can tell you. That ends very, very badly, as I'm sure some folks in chat, myself included, can attest to. Not a lot of grip around there at the outside of Parabolica.
Yeah, not a huge amount of grip coming through there, and the Mercedes, the Ferrari does struggle a little bit more than the McLaren there. McLaren very good at this track, just very balanced aerodynamically around here, so it is going to be a tough ask for Chris to overtake this McLaren, especially with Reynolds in the car, who is no slow customer. Actually, it looks like being held up a bit by Thomas ahead, who's a leading Pro-Am at the moment, doing very well in the 5th position there. As we look at a replay now, we'll see the start. So we're looking at Grant back there in the Monster Energy McLaren. It does seem to be a little bit too far back. Yeah, he is out of position there technically, and that could have influenced things further down in the grid. It did cost him, but it may have cost other drivers as well, so stewards may slap a penalty for him on that, but yeah, I can't make a call. That's for the stewards to decide. What do you think, Joe?
Yeah, well, I agree that it will be for the stewards to decide. He definitely looked a bit more than a couple of car lengths behind, and he basically lost 3rd position immediately as soon as the green flag went. And so, yeah, I would be surprised if he gets away without a penalty, but I don't know. I'm not a steward at the end of the day, so I can't make a call on it either, but he definitely looked out of position to me. But this is good news at the end of the day for Kale. He was able to get that position back in 3rd place and then start executing his strategy. Convoy still leading us away and flying at the moment. He's still in the low 48s for his last lap there. The gap is now out to 2.4 seconds between him and 2nd place in Brad Cook. Is doing still very well, but now he's under a lot of pressure. He's got a very fast McLaren of Grant Beck in behind him, and only about, he's going to go side by side. Let's see what he can do. So Beck has been forced to the outside line. The McLaren will be running very, very little wings, fast in a straight line. But is there still just enough space there for Cook? No, he can't get that Porsche back alongside the McLaren, and Beck will go through and take P2. Very, very nice move there into the first chicane.
Yeah, good move there. I think Cook will be a bit frustrated with the Porsche obviously not being quite as strong, and Grant there having the advantage of the slipstream and using it very well. A very nice clean overtake. But maybe Cook's got an eye for the out of position. Maybe he knows that the penalty's coming his way, so he's like, maybe I won't fight this. Maybe I'll let him go past and just follow him through and get more speed from him on the straights. Because yeah, it's still somewhere where the Porsche does struggle, even though the new 992 is not as bad as the old Porsche was.
I love that we use the phrase "not as bad," not better necessarily. Well, it is, of course, but not as bad. Certainly, very, very true about the new Porsche. But it's one of those things as well as a driver. You have to sort of consider: do I want to be pushing super hard and fighting for positions and risking either contact or risking a mistake, a self-inflicted mistake on myself, or do I just want to run my own pace and see where we go? I mean, Cook at this stage is going to know that he's going to have Kale coming back through the grid after that early pit stop from Kale. No one, of course, holding any damage. So there's not going to be any of that to factor in at this stage of the race. No penalties so far for anyone on the grid. I'm currently on board with Ben Deek, who's running in P7 at the moment, 2nd in the silver class, and he's got Ben Thomas ahead of him. So looks like Ben Thomas might have had a bit of an issue though, because Taylor and Reynolds have moved up ahead of him. But Ben Thomas has had a bit of an issue, and that is Ben Deek very, very wide at Parabolica. That is not the optimal line. It'll cost him a little bit on the straight, but that Lamborghini, not known for its top speed, but known for getting up to that top speed very, very quickly. Not going to help a huge amount here at Monza. Got a couple of questions in chat as well. Attack asking, so is Convoy's strategy a good one? Well, he's in P1 and he's driving fast, so I'd say that's a pretty good strategy.
Yeah, I mean, asking there about the tyre wear. Well, the tyre wear is not as big a concern, really, because there's 3 mandatory pit stops, so you can really burn tyres as much as you want and go to maximum pace. Like, everybody out there is basically going to be pushing as hard as they possibly can because you get so many stints. Everyone's going to be running reasonably low fuel runs and, yeah, taking advantage of that. So easily the tyres at full pace can do 15-20 minutes, so I don't particularly see a problem with how Combo's running at the moment. You see a replay here. I'm sure what we're looking at. Ooh, that's...
Yeah. So that's how he lost those 2 spots. Reynolds and Taylor just going to go drive past him, but hold on, hopefully we see the end of this. Yeah, no, that was a pretty easy move at the end of the day for those 2. Chris Taylor was actually having a little bit of a look up the inside there of Reynolds, but didn't get it done. Looks like Ben Thomas was very sketchy on with the car, and just as if we just had a deja vu there. But that's Ben Deek running very, very wide on the exit of Ascari as well. Very easy to get that exit of Ascari wrong if you don't get the entry right. So a couple of corners there in Ascari that really flow into each other. But just back to Ben Thomas, I mean, it really looked like he was struggling on the tyres. The car was just sliding all over the place. He just didn't have the grip to continue fighting with those 2. So, yeah, dropped back, and unfortunately that mistake in Ascari is going to cost him a bit more in terms of the tyre quality. So, yeah, you're right. It's not really about the life of the tyres as much. You can go flat out, easily 20 minutes, no worries at all. What you're really trying to manage is trying to keep the heat out of the tyres as much as possible. Trying to keep them cool, trying to keep your brakes cool. That's going to be the most important thing here, because that'll maximise the grip in these very hot conditions.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, it's going to depend on the car as well. Like I was saying before, you know, the Porsche just has a little bit more tyre wear. But, I mean, also the McLaren, I mean, you know, this driving the McLaren as well, it's very easy to spin those rear tyres up. It's got a very sort of sketchy back end. You can kind of dial it out with setup, but it still can be quite loose. We kind of saw that, I think, a bit with Thomas. And that will hurt him a little bit. We saw he heated up his tyres a bit too much there. So the rest of his stint is probably not going to be as quick for him because he's burned through a little bit of the tyre life. But the advantage of having these 3 pit stops is he could pit reasonably early to, you know, sort of offset that disadvantage he's given himself by going a bit wide there and getting the tyres a bit loose.
Exactly right there. The 3 pit stops that are required. Looks like we've had a few more down the bottom of the grid choose that option of pitting a little bit early. We've had a couple in the pits. Ashley Vediger, Bowen, Carter has just come out of the pits, but the top 13 at the moment still without a pit stop so far. If you do, I mean, this is definitely the ideal strategy here, is if you find yourself struggling on tyres, 3 stops, you might as well stop, get a nice cool pair of tyres, drop the PSIs a couple of clicks, go back out and start setting those hot laps again. But it's never easy at the end of the day. It is car dependent, as you said, Mike. And yeah, with the McLaren, yeah, the spinning of the rear tyres, yeah, not a lot of fun. With a car like the Ferrari, you're usually running a higher TC anyway, but the rear tyres, while very easy to spin, don't usually spin as often. Just looking down our grid at the moment, we've got Sedi at the moment in P10, leading our AM class drive as it stands right now, though he hasn't pitted. The next 2 in the AM class is Hayden Marsh, P20 at the moment, but with 1 pit stop already done, as well as Lawrence. So Hayden Marsh looks like he's got it ahead of Lawrence at some point on track as well. In terms of your Pro-Am class, Ben Thomas leads us away, struggling a little bit on tyres. We've got a decent gap back to Ben Deek for the most, back to Parkin, I should say, sorry. And then we've got Salvaggio in running a P8, P3 in Pro-Am class, and leading us to Silver. Grant Beck still going side by side there. Hold on a second, that was nearly a close one. I think that was Leela Bell trying to make her way around, but Salvaggio and her now having a little bit of battle side by side into Lesmos 1. That McLaren looking very slidey, getting a lot of oversteer there. Through goes Leela Bell in her Porsche 251 car and gets the move done on the exit of Lesmos 1.
Yeah, taking advantage of the things the Porsche's good at, which is, you know, exiting those chicanes with just absolute rapid speed and a maximum amount of grip. I mean, the McLaren's no such there too, so it did take a lot of effort, but yeah, it sort of made it look easy there on Salvaggio. But a good fight and a good defense there as well, but yeah, just didn't quite have it. It's interesting you say, you know, with the strategies as well, you know, what you're going to do. You know, it really depends on the kind of driver you are and where you're strong. As we see, he's Salvaggio hasn't given this position up, as we see now going around the outside. He's going to get a little bit more speed here than Bell out of the straight. We know the Porsches in Stroll, and Bell taking the opportunity to pit, as most people are coming into the pit. The pit lane actually very busy at the moment, so it looks like the 15-minute mark is when most people are starting to come in. We see our P2 Grant Begg coming in, Taylor coming in, so busy pit lane at the moment. So 15 minutes seems to be the first stint done for most people.
Yeah, that was a nice little shot there from the pit lane camera, showing us the big trail of cars coming into the pit lane. So it was sort of slightly less busy out on track, and then suddenly there's a bit of a traffic jam going into the pit lane, so that's nice to see. But yeah, as you said, 15 minutes does seem to be the mark for most. Early battles, pushing a little bit early to try and gain position. That can certainly give you tyres that are maybe not super suitable. Looking at Kale at the moment, with most of these cars in the pits ahead of him, so that's about 6 cars out currently in the pits. Kale will come through, go up, I think, into potentially P6 here. He's still got a bit of work to do to catch up the time, but most of the people ahead of him will be, in fact, still requiring that first pit stop to do. So this is looking very, very good for Kale. On for, obviously, a good result here. Likely to get back up into P2, I suspect. We will see, monitor Kale's progress. It's always a bit interesting for us in the comms box. When there's this many pit stops and this many strategies going on, you'll have to keep a very close eye on it throughout the rest of this race. But Convoy still leads us away. He's setting fastest laps. Very consistent in the 47s at the moment. Last lap to 47.6. So, yep, leading us away nicely. And Kale goes up in the 7th.
Yeah, Kale definitely.
Finish again.
Yep, that'll be a track cut there. But he's definitely gotten in front of Grant through those pit stops. So it'll be interesting to see once everything sort of ends up. Actually, it looks like McLaws has bounced ahead of Begg as well. So Begg maybe not having the best pit stop there. So it looks like about 4 seconds. So he's done well, and that sort of pitting early has given him an advantage because he is about 5 seconds ahead of Grant, who was behind him, before we made the initial pit stop. So he's definitely made up some time there, Cal. So this early pit stop does seem to be working for him at the current moment.
Yeah, it's that ability to run in clean air and just really get your head down. I think that's the big one here. It's not necessarily a tyre life thing because Hale will have to slightly extend this next stint and the one after. So we can probably expect Hale to hit another, I'd say 15 or 16 minutes at the very minimum, and potentially up to 20 minutes or 22 minutes. Just depends on how long those tyres sort of keep a hold of the tarmac for. But yes, that strategy has worked out very, very well for Kale at this stage of the race. I think I saw a yellow flag pop up next to Begg, so I do wonder if he's had a little bit of an issue, maybe not in terms of the pit lane entry or exit or anything like that. Now on board with Thomas, who's on the back of Parkin, going for that slip three, moves to the inside, McLaren versus McLaren. They're both out ahead of Reynolds, who did just come into the pits and come out of the pits. That might have been someone else, but deep goes Ben Thomas into the corner. He'll cut off the outside, the inside of that last part of the chicane very nicely, closes the door. Says, thank you very much. I will take P13 away from you, Parkin. I think Parkin was actually following Ben Thomas, so this is the way around that Ben Thomas was expecting it to be, and he does get the move done. But Leader Bell hunting down these two McLarens now.
Yeah, really good move there. Yeah, it's interesting which strategy you go with because, it depends on who's around you, So if you're behind a car, and Monza's not the easiest to overtake, as we were saying, there's not many places where you can do a big overtaking move unless you've got a significant amount more speed. So if you are finding yourself slowed by someone, that might be an opportunity to pit. But maybe you're a driver who prefers to sit in traffic, prefers to follow people around rather than hot lapping on your own. So some drivers may elect to stay out longer because they've got a benchmark for their pace, and they're not just doing those fast qualifying laps because not every driver is sort of enjoys racing that way, I guess, or finds their best pace when they're not around other cars. Some drivers prefer to drive with others so they can sort of have a rhythm built up with other cars around them.
Yeah, it's very true. There is definitely those two distinct styles, and yeah, it can be very nice to have a car in front and you just sort of, you see where it's braking. You can sort of moderate your own braking zones with the car ahead. Obviously, you've got to make sure you don't follow them off track if they do decide to make an off-track excursion. But you're absolutely right. Kale, obviously, one of those kinds of drivers that can just get his head down, go for hot lap after hot lap after hot lap. and just get it done with no car ahead. And that would be expected with Kale's level of skill. But yeah, some other drivers, I mean, you know, I always like to follow a car. Yeah, there are a couple of issues with that as well, but oh, and that's Thomas goes very deep into turn 1 and makes a little bit of a mistake, cuts the corner a little bit. That'll likely be a track warning, I suspect. He's gained just a little bit there, but Parkin will continue the chase afterward. Yeah, one of the other things to consider here, it's not a massive effect, but dirty air is definitely a thing around a circuit like this. In some corners, like following closely through Lesmo 2 can be a little bit hairy sometimes.
Yeah, definitely. The dirty air can interrupt you, and it's, yeah, I guess it's just based on, you know, what's the pace of the driver ahead. You know, are they a couple of tenths faster than you? Not fast enough to, you know, tear away, but fast enough that they're not, you know, giving you too much dirty air or getting in your way. But, you know, you can also get things like a slipstream. Like, again, if you're in a car that's maybe a bit slower on the straights, like a Porsche, following another car and getting their slipstream might give you that little extra pace. So there's a lot of interesting strategy calls you can do when you've got a slightly different pit stop strategy race like this one where you do 3, because I mean most oh no, Thomas getting a little sketchy there. He's made to rejoin the track. Looks like he's done it safely as well, but that's definitely cost him another position. So looking a little bit sketchy at the moment, as it looks like Bell's going to overtake as well. So he's lost 2 positions there thanks to that mistake. It's sort of a second mistake on the same lap. So yeah, bit hit to the confidence there. We'll see if he can recover.
Yeah, I'm not quite sure what's going on here with Ben Thomas at the moment. Obviously, he's having a few struggles out there in terms of grip. You know, driving style does come into play when you have track temperatures this high. You know, cars like McLaren are very reliant on their aero grip. But it does mean that you can sort of lean on the car's aero a little bit more than the mechanical side of things. You're not leaning on the tyres necessarily as much if you don't want to, but every car has got that little quirk. So sometimes it does come down to how much you're using the tyres, how much you are sort of burning away the grip of them. On board now with Reynolds. He's going for a move on Chris Taylor. Goes down the inside of Della Roggia chicane. Both of them giving room very nicely. Chris Taylor's going to try the switch back. Gets it done nicely, but doesn't get the power down just as much as he needs to get back ahead of Reynolds. So that is a very, very nice move there from Reynolds. Used the speed through Curva Grande, had a nice exit through turn 1, got the overspeed into Della Roggia chicane and managed to get himself through and then drives off the track. That, Mike, is the first commentator's curse of the evening.
Yeah, well done there. Well done. Very good commentators there. Curse there for Reynolds. Yeah, just going a little bit wide, which, you know, pretty easy to do on that corner. It's very easy to sort of overestimate how much grip you actually have in the car, and yeah, just a little bit too much gas there for Reynolds. But I don't think he'll have any trouble recovering from that. It doesn't look like he hit the tyres too much going there, and he only really lost that sort of one position. So I'm sure Reynolds will be back and right on Taylor's back in a lap or 2. I do notice Convoy, our leader, has pitted, so he's gone down to P3. And interesting there, Kale's only a second, 1.2 seconds off Convoy, so he's definitely gained some time there, and does seem to be in that effective P2 position at the moment. We've got Bendick and Bianchi in P1 and P2 at the moment, who still have to pit.
They're just coming out of the pits now, so Convoy should manage to get past them almost immediately. We were having a brief look there at Hayden Marsh, who's slipped down the order a little bit, currently in P19, but 3rd in AM class at the moment as it stands. So everyone now completing their first pit stop of the race. It looks like Cameron Thistlethwaite has come in for a second pit stop already in this race. So that is an interesting move there. So I think Cameron's the only AMG driver out there in AP Blue today. Potentially, actually, I'll have to check that, see if there's any other Mercedes drivers in the split. But Thistlethwaite already in, done 2 of the mandatory pit stops. So Convoy did go through, but you're right, Kale is right on his rear bumper. There's only a second between them at the moment. So having that clean air for Kale has definitely worked some magic, and he's found a bit more pace out there than Convoy. I mean, Convoy has had clean air as well. He's been leading this race. So it just shows that there is a bit of a pace difference between Convoy and Kale as it stands right now. And Kale just managing to put in what was essentially 20 minutes of very, very good laps, with Convoy just not quite matching it at this stage.
Well, it's interesting because they're on sort of very different strategies at the moment. So Convoy has just pitted, so his tyres are only kind of just going to be coming up to their optimal pressures and optimal temperatures now. So interesting to see if Kale sort of drops back a bit now because Kale's
And McLaws, they're trying around the outside. Not going to have any luck around the outside right now. McLaws closes the door to the final part of the chicane and will stay ahead as they go through Curving Granda. But this is going to be a little close battle here between these two McLaren drivers, both in silver class, and this is the silver class championship battle at the moment between these two for this round 9 of course. And behind we see Cook. The Cook has slipped out a little bit now under a little bit of pressure from Christopher Taylor. The Taylor's found a little bit of extra pace there. That's sort of, here we go. So will there be a move down to Lesmo 1? That would be very brave. Does stick a nose in. Forces McLaws to run a little bit deep, a little bit wide. And they'll be side by side. Lesmo 2, be very careful everyone. Be very, very careful. But very good racing room given by both drivers. Begg does back out of the move into Lesmo 2. So it's cost him a little bit of time and bringing Cook and Taylor back into this fight. But yeah, that was very, very confident driving there from Beck, and knew that McLaws was going to give him the racing room he needed through Lesmo 1. That was very close.
Yeah, Grant really pushing it in there. I actually thought he was being a bit conservative when they went into turn 1 and, you know, perhaps just taking his time. But then, you know, we saw him there really push it into the Lesmos. So Grant's not taking it slow today, I think.
Exactly right. We've had a quick question in chat. Who came into the pits on lap 1? It was Thistlethwaite, Cameron Thistlethwaite from the Mercedes AMG Silver Class 36. And then Kale was in the Pro Class Lamborghini 52 car currently running in P2. And now we've got McLaws coming in for his second pit stop of the race. So it's all on. It's going to be going for quite, it won't be too long a stint. He'll have to do another pit stop after this, of course. But this battle between P1 and P2 not cooling down at all. And yeah, JB Convoy going to try to activate his tyres as soon as possible and try and get that gap back out to above a second. That'll get Hale out of the slipstream, and then Convoy will feel a little bit more relaxed that he's not pulling a Lamborghini along behind him.
Yeah, that gap hasn't decreased too much. Kale's definitely got a bit closer, but it hasn't been drastic. So it may just be a case of Convoy's tyres starting to come to the point where he needs them to be, or it could be Ethan's tyres starting to fall off just a little bit. But both of these drivers are very, very quick and very, very disciplined as well. So it's going to be interesting to see, like I said, you know, whether this battle happens on track, whether they overtake each other on track, or whether this all just happens in the pit stops. Because, I mean, Kale's got to be thinking about a pit stop reasonably soon, but, you know, Convoy's got a little bit more to go.
That's exactly right. I mean, the previous lap there from Kale was a 47.85. The previous lap from JB Convoy was a 48.0. So there is a little bit of a difference right now in pace, and I wonder if that's why Hale, he actually just had a very bad run through Ascari there, lost a couple of tenths to Convoy, or Convoy just had a mega run through Ascari. I'm not actually quite sure which. But you're right, I think Hale at this point will probably be thinking, okay, should I be coming into the pits? Looks like he's holding the inside line there, and there you go. Mike, you've made the right prediction today, and Hale is coming into the pits. So there we go, P2 into the pits, and Convoy will now have that gap behind him. I won't have to worry about Hale for a few laps until he does his pit as well, which will what? I mean, he'll probably be coming to the pits in the next 5 or 6 minutes, I suspect.
Yeah, I'd say so. And I think this might work pretty well for Hale, just based on his position on track. It looks like he'll once again come into reasonably clean air. If you look at the track map there on the right-hand side, he should come out without traffic ahead or particularly behind him as well. So again, you know, maybe just looking to do those hot laps on some nice fresh tyres. We'll usually see what the gain he makes is on Convoy, provided Convoy manages to maintain his P1. But he's got 10 seconds to Grant at the moment, so looking pretty strong.
Here we're on board currently with a Begg, who's got a bit of a blue flag traffic behind. That is Hayden Marsh, getting very nicely out of the way at an appropriate time. Good driving there from Hayden Marsh. And we've got, that is Cook and Taylor, who've been battling for the last couple of laps. And I think Chris Taylor is quite happy at the moment to run in the dirty air of Cook. Haven't seen any real change in the difference between these two at this stage of the race. We'll see. This battle could definitely heat up at some point in the next 30 minutes. We are coming up to half race distance here in Split Blue. So of course I'll give a quick reminder here for everyone, if you are enjoying the stream, please do give us a like and a subscribe. It's always appreciated. And of course, consider becoming an our Patreon. You do get 5% off in Simrigs.com. The sponsor of this Sprint Series. Season 14, isn't it? 10-round season, and we're in round 9 at the moment, so this is coming up towards the end of the season. It's been very, very cool here in Split Blue. Lots of rain actually across the season. But nonetheless, the slipstream here will be with Chris Taylor as they go down the back straight, the main straight, pit straight, crossing the line for half race distance. And now the question is, who's going to be next to pit in this train of cars? We've had Kale come into the pits. Kale will only have one more mandatory stop to do in this race, currently running down in P14. That'll all change soon, and it is actually Leela Bell. Leela Bell decides, right, it's time, let's get into the pits, and let's get that next pit stop done. They should be running for about 28 minutes or so on that final set of tyres. Blue flag traffic there for Taylor. They do go through nicely. Not quite sure which car that was. I think that is JB Lawrence there, who's currently being hunted down by Hayden Marsh. So a little bit of a battle evolving there for P20 spot between those two AM drivers. We'll keep an eye on how they do a little bit later on. But right now, this battle between Cook, who's currently running in P3, and Taylor, who's running in P4, is kind of where things are at on track. No real strategy difference between P2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I suspect the real strategy difference is going to be between Convoy, who stayed out at the start, and Kale, who came in on lap 1.
Yeah, very differing strategies, but an obvious choice really, because, you know, Convoy's had track position. He's in P1, he already had clean air, whereas Kale was kind of stuck around with traffic. He'd sort of cleared Grant by that stage, but I don't think he liked the idea of following anybody around at that point. He really just wanted to get out early, and we did see a similar strategy work last night, I believe, in my split, which was split green, where Shooty managed to get the win by doing very similar strategies. We see Taylor now coming into the pits. Somebody else ahead of him. Is that Beg ahead? It is.
It is indeed. So Beg and Taylor coming into the pits now. By the way, we've got a report, a penalty being handed out to Woods. Currently down in P19. It's a 10-second penalty, I suspect, for collision with another car. So we may get that up on a replay at some point. That's the first penalty being handed out all race. 33 minutes. No penalties, nothing at turn 1, nothing at turn 2 on lap 1. Got to take my hats off to Split Blue. This is probably one of the cleanest races out of all the splits this season.
Yes, definitely much cleaner than either of the splits last night, where there was quite a bit of chaos across the board there, even, you know, a couple of safety car incidents and things like that, which we don't like to see. So very good work here by Split Blue, showing everybody how it's done.
Exactly right. So everyone, there you go. Split Blue wins the clean split award of the season. I suspect we'll see how they do actually in round 10. Spa can always get a little bit interesting with penalties and things like that. Eau Rouge, and yeah, we'll see how that goes. But looking forward to that next week. That's going to be fantastic. And yeah, so we'll continue to watch here. Split Blue doing very, very well. More into the pit at the moment. Ben Thomas, Bianchini, Sebi, and Lewis all deciding it's time do their second pit stops. And is that Ben Thomas has done? No, he's completed the one there, so that's why it now says 1 remaining. He'll come out of the pits here, and that is Leela Bell going ahead of him. Leela Bell has done that earlier pit stop and a couple of really, really good laps there, and gotten herself up ahead of Ben Thomas.
Yeah, so it looks like just our top 5 who still need to pit, being Convoy, Cook, Mendic, Savigio, and Bowen, all still needing to pit. They've only done 1 pit stop out of the 3 so far, so still 1 more pit stop to go for the rest of the field as well, so plenty to play for. And yeah, as Scullin and the chat has put it, it is basically just a whole bunch of qualifying runs in one race. It's all attack, all full hits all the time.
Exactly. It
is Veggio going in there now to the pits as well, so just the top 4 now to the pit.
You're right, there we go. So Salvaccio into the pits, as Mike has just said, and yeah, it is basically 75 minutes of qualifying. That's essentially what this round is all about. High temperatures as well. You know, so that's the added challenge in here. If this was, you know, if we had, say, I don't know, 27, 28 degrees track temperature, which would be pretty much optimal for most cars, we'd be seeing lap times in the very low 46s, and it would literally be qualifying for 60 minutes. But the added heat here today sort of throws things a little bit to the wind. We see a few cars out there who've struggled on their grip. Ben Thomas has been one of them, and a few others around the grid as well. And on board now with McLaws, who's still chasing after Begg. This is the fight for silver class at the moment. These two are going to be battling each other pretty much to the end of this race, and that's a great bit of braking there from McLaws. It's very nicely to keep out of the rear wing of Begg, and yeah, Begg doesn't look quite as confident maybe through that braking zone. Might have just been a one-off there. But these three, including Chris Taylor, who's behind them, just sort of shadowing them off in the distance, just reminding them of the presence of the Tifosi-empowered Ferrari that he's running. And he'll be keeping an eye on this battle ahead. If they come together, then fantastic. Into the pits comes Jamie Conboy, our leader.
All right, so it'll be good to keep an eye on Kale here and see exactly how they stack up and what the gap is between those two, because that really is our battle for the lead still at the moment between Conboy and Kale. Kale just coming up to Ascari now, so he is still going to be behind, but by how much is the real question here.
Exactly right. Well, Kale's last lap was a 47.45, so has been absolutely flying on the second stint. He got the tyres right into the perfect sort of spot, and now absolutely throwing the car around the track, trying to make up all the time he can. He knew that there was only a second in it. He's already made up a little bit of that time. Conboy has now started to move out of the pits, and I think Conboy is going to still be ahead here, and maybe with a little bit of an extra gap here, we will see. He'll be able to put the throttle down in just a moment. There he goes. Throttle is down, and Kale's only just coming across the line. So I don't think Kale's going to have enough to jump up ahead of Conboy, but the gap should be about 1.5 seconds between these two, so hasn't really lost too much. I thought he might have just had enough to be back in that range, but no, it looks to be actually more like about a couple of seconds there, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does, but we'll see what the tyre offset does as well. Again, you know, Conboy's got to bring those tyres up to temperature. You know, you don't want to push too hard, especially with these high track temperatures, as you were saying. You know, you don't want to push too hard too early, so he's got to bring those tyres in nicely, not push too much, not get any graining on them. And meanwhile, Kale's got nice tyres. They're well run in at this point, so he can push just that little bit harder and bring that gap down. But it is about 3.5 seconds at the moment, so I think Conboy definitely had a good stint there because he's definitely eked out a really good gap.
Certainly has. Keep an eye on this battle. He's answering a couple of questions in chat. Attack asking, so do they know what temps they will be before the start, or do they adjust on the grid? It's mainly adjust on the grid because you don't know the exact temperature, whether it's ambient temperature or track temperature, until you're sitting on the grid for the race session. So the couple of minutes that you have before the race, you have to make the adjustments, and you have to be knowledgeable and skilled in figuring that out, whether it's a couple of clicks up on PSI or a couple of clicks down, or any other adjustments that need to be made. Peach is asking, no penalties for start infringements? No, so far no penalties. The person obviously we've been keeping an eye on has been Grant Begg, who did start a little bit out of position at the beginning of this race 39 minutes ago, but so far no penalty being applied for Grant Begg at this stage of the race. Currently looking at the back of Chris Taylor at the moment. Now something has happened to McLaws because he's dropped back behind Chris Taylor. Ethan Kale's just set the fastest lap of this race, a 147.222. Nice little triple digit there, 222, very, very nice. So Kale is on the pace, but currently running 3 seconds behind Conboy at the moment. But yeah, I don't know what's happened to McLaws though. He might be able to pull this up on a replay, but he has fallen down and is now behind Chris Taylor as well. So that gives Grant Begg a little bit of breathing room and gets to get his head down and absolutely go for it. We haven't seen really any incidents around the track so far at all. Obviously we've got word he's got his penalties. Probably a few things that have happened off camera that we haven't quite captured. But so far, no one having any major incidents out there. So still 40 minutes into this race, and still very, very clean out there on track. Well done to everyone. The gap, by the way, Kale to Conboy is starting to close down. So as you were saying, Mike, yeah, with the tyre difference and Conboy on fresher tyres, he's got to get them activated. Kale obviously on pretty much optimum levels of PSI or temperature in the tyres. He'll be able to start absolutely flying, or he'll continue to fly on track as Conboy tries to get things up to temperature.
Yeah, well, his fastest lap there, not too far off the qualifying lap that Conboy set. So definitely going as we here we go. We've got our replay here of McClaws. Let's see what happens. It looks like there was a movie. Oh, there was actually a bit of action going on with Cook ahead. Oh, okay.
Ooh, oh dear.
This will be interesting. So we may see a penalty, just as you were saying. That was a good context, just as you were saying how clean it is. We've had an incident there. It looks like Grantberg just tapping into the side of Cook there. It's a hard one to call, but turn one incidents are always tricky here at Monza because it's such a difficult corner to get the car pulled up on, and so you can just do it. So maybe, I don't know, it looks clumsy from Grant more than malicious. So we'll just see how the stewards what their verdict is for that.
Yeah, I'd agree on that interpretation. I think that's probably as close to a racing incident as you can get to. Begg was obviously quite keen to get past Cook. Cook was still there. Can't move the car away from it. Cook is now down in P6 at the moment after that contact. Grant Begg obviously ended up just sort of pushing on through, and then Cook sort of got in the way of McClaws, and McClaws had nowhere to go as well. And had to take the runoff area with Cook diving headfirst into a barrier. So there will be some damage now being held by most of these cars in here. Probably the worst off amongst all of them will be Cook. He'll be holding damage from pretty much every angle on that car. I think he was pretty much tapped in every part of the car by Begg and McClaws, but we'll wait for the stewards to figure that one out. And you're right, that was a lovely timed sort of commentary curse there. At least it's not Mount Panorama. I managed to hand out about 6 there and relegated myself to weather reporter, which I was told was not necessary, so that's why I'm back on the comms box today, full commentary duties. So luckily for everyone, or unluckily for some, I suppose, I'm back in the comm box. But yeah. Anyway, before I curse anyone else, looking at your top 5 or 6 at the moment, Convoy still leads us away. The gap's still hovering around 3 seconds. 1 pit stop to go for everyone on the grid. Thistlethwaite, though, has made his final pit stop. So has Ben Thomas, so is Wood. Wood will have served that penalty as well, the 10-second penalty that he's held. And still holding the fastest lap is Kale, who we are on board with now. Goes past Ben Thomas, who's just come out of the pits there, I believe. And yeah, we continue in this race. 17 minutes, or just under 18 minutes to go in this race. The track temperature is not cooled down at all, so we're really facing the same conditions now as we were at the start of this race. McClaws comes into the pits as well. We'll probably be repairing some damage.
Yeah, it's a good opportunity to fix that now. You know, you've still got 17 minutes, so you can still run the tyres that long, and it gets that damage out of the way. It's probably a bit of a longer stint than you would have wanted, but it does give you an advantage when you've got that sort of pre-pit stop there. You will have to repair a bit, but probably won't be a massive amount of damage. For a couple of extra seconds on the pit stop if you see a 15-second penalty there for Grant Begg for that turn 1 incident. So yeah, that's going to hurt him at this point. He's going to drop a few positions, I'd say, but he will at least be able to serve that in a pit stop, so he can make the time back. So it's not quite as catastrophic as it sometimes can be late in the race when you get a penalty like that, but hard to argue with a penalty for that incident. And definitely hurt 2 cars in that little clumsy move there.
Yeah, that's exactly right. So a lap 20 incident, 15-second penalty being handed out to Grant Begg. He'll serve that in his next pit stop. Yeah, it's a tricky one, isn't it? I mean, at this stage, if you're Begg, you're going to be like thinking, oh, could there be a virtual safety car maybe? But with the field this spread out, incredibly unlikely that that'll happen. In fact, I don't think I've seen a virtual safety car much later than lap 3 in the Sprint Series races so far across all the splits. So unlikely for him to get that advantage. That would be the ideal situation for Begg. Of course, virtual safety car comes out, he jumps into the pits and saves a whole bunch of time. That penalty basically becomes almost negligible, but as Mike was saying, yeah, it is entirely possible for him to sort of remedy a little bit of that. He's got 10 seconds to Kale ahead, but there's 3 seconds to Taylor, 6 seconds to Cook, and 8 seconds to Bendy. It's not looking too bad. I mean, he's not going to slip out of the top 10. That's not the end of the world for Begg at the end of the day. But there you go. It is as simple as that. One clumsy move, and that'll really set you back in a race like this. And look, we've got Salvaggio as well. Has picked up a 15-second penalty too. So that is contact that we have not seen. That's on lap 21. So that's happened a couple of laps ago. But Salvaggio there will pick up that 15-second penalty as well. That will probably drop them down into P20. And yeah, very unlucky there, whoever was involved in that contact. Ben Thomas currently running in P19 behind Salvaggio. So Ben Thomas has had a bit of a tough outing today, fortunately at Monza, and hopefully he'll be able to make up a few positions at the end. In comes Hayden Marsh to the pits, 27 Ferrari there, and that'll be his final pit stop of the day. So that'll leave about 14 on the grid yet to serve their final pit stop. Sounds like they're serving time in prison, but it's not. Serving the pit stops is usually a good thing, especially when you know you come out and you feel the grip in those tyres. It's always nice those first couple of laps after you've done a pit stop.
Yeah, if I was odd, we're going to get a replay now. Looking at Salvaggio. Just missed his brake there. Unfortunately, hitting into Thomas at that point. Yeah, well, we can see why now. Perhaps Thomas has gone in a little bit earlier, a bit of rear damage, and the car definitely doesn't like damage. Very, very dependent on its aerodynamics, and any little dents in that can really hurt performance, especially at a track like Monza. So yeah, but unfortunate incident, and it's a 15-second penalty, which he will have to serve at the end of the race because he doesn't have another pit stop in which to serve that. If I'm Grant at this point, I'm surprised he hasn't pitted already. I would have pitted almost as soon as that penalty came up, just to mitigate as much as possible. Jump in the pits, get rid of the penalty, and just go for maximum attack for whatever you've got left, because I think he's going to lose more time trying to drive around on his own here. I mean, he's got a 10-second gap ahead. He's got reasonably clear track by the looks of it, but there's still always the opportunity for traffic and all those sorts of things which can come into it. So I'm surprised he hasn't pitted yet.
Yeah, it is a little bit surprising, and you know, we're counting down the minutes now. 13 minutes to go in this race. You know, for your out lap, there's a couple of minutes. Your lap 1, the tyres are never up to temperature. Lap 2, never really. So I would say there's about a 5 to 6 minute gap, you know, after you've come out of the pits, until your tyres are really in that, you know, absolutely send it hot lap mode that you need to be in for a race like this. So the earlier Grant Begg pitted with that penalty, the better it was going to be for him, because he sort of gives himself more time to run on those fresher tyres, and that's what's going to be the advantage for him. That's how he's going to make up positions that he may lose. Whoa, Convoy having a bit of an oversteering moment there. Runs very, very wide into the entry of Parabolica. Does manage to, I think, fairly gracefully maintain control of that McLaren. He's currently out to a 3.3 second lead. So this is looking still very, very good for Convoy. Both him and Kale will need to come into their pit, in for their final pit, and that's Convoy taking the escape road. Oh. Oh, no.
That's not the track, Convoy. What are you doing?
That's right, and he's yeah, gone through the polystyrene barriers there, which I have to admit, I mean, don't do this, folks, or don't condone this behaviour. You know, usually the idea is to drive around those polystyrene barriers, but it is quite satisfying to smash through on occasion.
Yeah, safer kind of stuff for Wreckfest, I think, rather than ACC. But
Yes,
yeah, a bit of
that's
an uncharacteristic mistake there from Convoy. He's been running very good all race, but yeah, he made a couple of mistakes there just in those last few corners onto the Parabolica and straight into turn 1 there, just outbraked himself. Has given Kale a bit of an advantage, but not a huge one. Convoy definitely would have picked up a pretty harsh track cut penalty for that, but it looks like he's still got some in the bank because he hasn't received a penalty to go into the pits just yet, but he's definitely going to be running on a few warnings by now, I'd say, depending on how he's been running so far. So far, it looks like Convoy's got the optimal strategy here. It's interesting that Kale hasn't pitted yet. I wonder if Kale is just waiting for Convoy now, waiting to see when he pits, and maybe he's gone a bit heavier on his fuel, and he's going for a bit of a longer stint in this last one, so I probably would have expected him to have pit by now, considering how out of sequence he is with everybody else there in that top 10.
Yeah, couldn't agree more, and he's still running in decent track times, but Kale can be running faster, especially if he's running on nicer tyres. And by the way, we nearly just went 3 wide of the Parabolica at Salvaggio, now trying to make the move up the inside of Thistlewaite in the AMG Mercedes there. The Mercedes just gets it stopped. That's Leela Bell in front of this pack of 3, and that was very close to Thistlewaite, trying to cover off the inside dive from Salvaggio, but Salvaggio there, yeah, knows he's got a 15-second penalty, doesn't want to get any more penalties in this race, because it's just going to cost him more and more and more. Of course, then you do ruin someone else's day as well. So Cameron Thistlewaite, looking for a move. That's a bit of a look, a bit more of a look. That's quite the look up the inside there. Really trying to be in the mirrors of Lila Bell. She's going to be maybe a little bit worried now because that Mercedes was looking awfully keen to get past at Della Roggia chicane, and not a really, it was not really in a position to make a dive at that point. So a bit of a psychological warfare going on now between these three, but that's cost Thistlewaite a little bit. Salvaggio is going to be right on the back of that Mercedes AMG as they go through Ascari. Currently 26 laps in, under 10 minutes to go now in this race. Kale has come into his final pits, so has Convoy. And is there a switch going around? Hold on, we've got camera 2 up as well. Keeping an eye on 2 battles on track right now. And looks like Lila Bell under pressure again. Cameron Thistlewaite got a great run through Ascari. Going to try and dive up the inside. No, does the switch back. Lila Bell defending very, very nicely. Holds the inside line into Parabolica. Salvaggio right in this as well. Good launch on the exit for Cameron Thistlewaite. Brings the car back in. Absolutely puts the throttle down. Has now got a great run. He'll hit a wall of air as he does pull out of that slipstream. Goes side by side, but will use the side slip. Oh, a little bit of contact between these two. Feisty battle happening out on track right now. A big update as well. Convoy has been overtaken by Kale in the pits.
Yeah, I've just been watching that battle while this one continues to go. It's too hard to cut away from it at this point.
Yeah, that's exactly right. If you keep an eye on the battle for the lead right now, we'll have to figure out what's happened there. Potentially a bad pit stop for Convoy or something has happened. But this battle, they're going to go 3 wide through Kermit Grande. They come up to the braking zone for Della Roggia chicane. Someone's going to have to back out of this. 2 wide doesn't work. 3 wide certainly doesn't work. And that Mercedes eats the curb very nicely. Oh, a little tap on the outside there. Thistlewaite will lose a position to Salvaggio, who's got the 15-second penalty. Into the first Lesmos they go. Very deep there for Salvaggio. Very wide for Bell, but she does hold on to it. Currently retaining P9 at the moment. The Thistlewaite does now move down to P11, but that will be immediately rectified at the end of this race because of the penalty that Salvaggio is holding. We need to figure out what has gone on between Kale and Convoy. Any thoughts on that, Mike?
Yeah, well, it just looked like a little bit of a rough pit stop there for Convoy because Kale was just ahead. Looks like they both pitted at the same time. So as I was sort of predicting, it was Kale just sitting behind Convoy there waiting for him to pit. So they both pitted at the same time. So it just looks like Convoy's either missed his box by a little bit, had maybe a little bit of damage from that excursion off track, although it shouldn't have. But we can't talk about the leaders, but there's this battle here for the top 10 that's just going on there. Salvaggio and Bell getting very close this way now, looking up the inside. He's probably going to have a good run. The AMG very strong in a straight line, but probably not strong enough at this stage, but it's definitely going to be looking into turn 1 here. Let's see how they all stack up, the 3 of them. Oh, they're going to go for it. Oh, that's Thistlewaite going very deep into turn 1. He's got the inside line. That's a really good move there. He's got both of them, I think. Yes, has he got the drive out? He's been a little bit slower than Bell, but he has managed to hold on to the position for now as we go into the second chicane here. He's got the optimal line to hold on to the position, but Bell does have the corner for the next one. It looks like Bell just backing out a bit. Salvaggio having to take evasive action, and Bell lost a little bit there, and Thistlewaite absolutely screaming. Really good move there. Battle for the lead still continuing, by the way, as you can see in the bottom right corner there. Kale and Convoy both pitted, so they both have pretty even tyre condition at the moment. There's 6 minutes to go. Convoy is right on the back of Kale, and it looks like Convoy's had the pace all race so far. So how this turns out on track in these last 6 minutes, it's going to be really interesting.
You're right, and he's going to look up the inside here. Nearly had a good bit of overspeed there, but not quite able to get side by side with Kale. Thinks about it, but then says, nope, you know what, let's go for another lap. There's still 6 minutes in this race. If I can just stay right on the back of Kale, then that turn 1 opportunity will open itself up again. Just needs to focus on the exit of Parabolica. Really nail the entry, really nail the exit. He gets a good run out on the final corner. He is absolutely in it to get that position back. But yeah, this switchback, as you said, as you told us, Mike, Kale just waiting for Convoy to come to the pits, and now they're essentially on equal footing, both on the same amount of tyre wear. And Kale obviously fancies himself to stay ahead, and once you have track position at this later stage of the race, you know, it's going to come down to how much speed you can get out of it. The battle continuing. Salvaggio does throw it down the inside into turn 1 on Lila Bell, and continues to hold that position. Bell will have to make up a bit of pace here if she wants to continue the fight with Thistlewaite, who is now up into P8 in this race. Of course, a bit of a mute battle here because Salvaggio will end up falling back. 15-second penalty to be served at the end of this race. But this has been a beautiful battle between these three. Really sunny stuff. And as Mike led us through the battle that happened, Thistlewaite got a brilliant move into that turn 1. But all three of these drivers have nearly come together so many times on these final laps of this race. Great respectful driving by all three. Just a shame, I guess, in a way, that there's a penalty in the next year.
Yeah, it is a bit of a shame because the battle will be a lot more interesting. It's almost like Salvaggio's kind of in the way of Bell here, but Bell just seems to have dropped up. Maybe those Porsche tyres doing Porsche tyre things, you know, maybe just heated them up just a little bit too much towards the end. As we see, we've now got a 15-second penalty for Lawrence, who's down there in P19, so it was in a collision there, so I'm not sure who that was with, but commiserations to whoever was the victim for that. But Lawrence is also the recipient of a pretty hefty penalty. Pretty hefty penalties tonight. We haven't seen many incidents, but they've all been punished reasonably hardly. Pretty much everybody getting a 15-second penalty. Actually interesting to note where Grant Begg is at this point, who's now in position 6. So has lost a bit from down from P3, but still in P6 with a decent gap. So not the biggest thing, but yeah, probably kicking himself a little bit.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. But yeah, P6 is not too bad overall. I mean, at the end of the day, Begg is currently still running P2 in silver class with McLaws ahead. I think it's something in the order of 4 seconds up the road, or nearly 5 seconds up the road. So it's still technically doable. 3 minutes, 20 seconds left in this race. That is a lot of gap for Begg to make up. But a P2 in silver class overall with a 15-second penalty is still nothing to scoff at the end of the day. So will be a disappointing day, but that is a good run for Comboy out of Ascari. Kale has not had a good run, but this will be the outside line around Parabolica for Comboy. Let's see if he decides to try it around the outside or back out of this move. He's got the car ahead, but Kale will have the inside line. There's a lot more grip on the inside line there. Kale's got no choice. He's run very, very wide. He will maybe have a better overspeed opportunity here, as the shallower line on the exit will compromise your exit speed ever so slightly. But yeah, Comboy round the outside now got a big bit of overspeed on Kale. Kale goes defensive. This is for the lead of the race, and Comboy will be trying round the outside once again. Brakes a little bit earlier than Kale though at the end of the day. Kale very late on the brakes, manages to stop the car, pull it up very, very nicely, and closes the door on the exit of turn 1 once again on Comboy. He will now have 2 minutes to make this move happen. It is all happening at the top of the field here, and these two strategies colliding back together in the last stage of this race.
Yeah, well, we said it, didn't we? And doing excellent defensive driving there, Ethan, and putting on a good attack by Comboy. He definitely seems to have more pace than Kale through Ascari. Seems more confident through there. He's actually just lost a little bit going through the second chicane there, Comboy, but he's still holding that gap there. And I'd say, you know, lap on lap, Comboy's probably got the pace, but it's just not the track where you can really overtake easily if you don't have a significant pace advantage. It looks like Comboy has dropped back actually a fair bit now. He's almost 4 tenths behind, so whether he's made a mistake there or he's just pushed a little bit too hard on that previous lap, or he's just giving himself a bit of a rest to line it up for one final stab. He hasn't got much time left. We're probably only going to see, what, 1 more lap, maybe 2 more laps after this before the end. Actually, yeah, it should just be the 1 lap with only 1:15 to go after this. So it's going to be interesting to see who comes out on top, but Kale's definitely got the advantage right now. Nice little gap to Comboy there. It's pushed out wide a big way.
Yeah, it looked like Comboy had a bit of a moment on the exit of the De La Roggia chicane, the second chicane of this lap, and that has cost him a huge amount. He's out of the slipstream range of Kale, so both at the toe down the main straight. As we go on to what is going to be, inevitably, the last lap of this race for Ethan Kale, who, after starting in P4, not having a great qualifying, essentially got P3 for free, with Begg slightly out of position on the start. Went for a very early strategy, lap 1, got in, got that clean air, put in great lap times all the way through this race. And it's all eventuated right at the end of this race with, essentially an equal tyre stint to the leader and overtaking Convoy, who was leading the race all the way through from start to finish and getting qualifying pole right to the end. So here is the replay. This was, so it wasn't even, wow. Yeah, so it really sucks when you lightly miscalculate the entry to De La Roggia, and that is the result of it. There's a curb on the first part of the chicane, and there's a curb on the exit of the chicane as well, and unfortunately for Convoy, he's managed to pick up both of them.
Yeah, that one error costing him quite a bit there. Unfortunately for Convoy, he's done an excellent job all race, but it's hard to go past Ethan Cale, who has done exceptionally well and looks to be getting the win here. Convoy's brought that gap down, but I just don't know if he's got the time left. Maybe if we had another lap, but we don't. That was Convoy going very wide there on the exit of the Ascari. Perhaps just giving it one final push there at the end, giving us a bit of a show, but it does look like Cale is going to lead this race for the final lap and give us a victory. A very well-deserved victory, one that played out all over the race. We weren't quite sure who would come out on top, and it was that final pit stop and that final little bit of strategic decision there to hold back behind Convoy that's given him the victory here today. So Convoy coming in P2, very well deserved. We'll be a bit disappointed, I'm sure, but still a very good result and well earned. Taylor coming into P3, that's a good race. I'm supposed to be happy about that. That Italian car on the podium, and it looks like Cook is going to be following up in P4. A good race for him as well.
Exactly right. 4 manufacturers in the top 4. Very good race. The McLaren's getting a little bit too hot-headed today. McLaws, the next runner in the McLaren, are behind Convoy. P5 for him. Begg will take P6 after that 15-second penalty. Ben Deek in the lovely Candy Lamborghini. P7, Thistlewaite. This battle has been continuing. We've been so focused on the final battle between P1 and P2, but Thistlewaite has just managed to take it. Flash of the lights there. Stoked staying ahead of Salvaggio and Lila Bell. Well, Salvaggio will drop quite far down the grid, out of the top 10. So that will elevate Bell to P9. Bowen into the top 10. And that's a good result there for P. Bowen in the Pro-Am class. Comes in the second spot for Pro-Am class. We've got Carter, Ben Thomas, Parkin, Bianchini, Debbie, Hayden Marsh in P17. It's a great result for him. I think it's one of his best this season. Steve Lewis in P18, Lawrence in P19 with a 15-second as well. And some mandatory crushing of the polystyrene down at turn 1, followed by some burnouts. Very appropriate for a track like this. Why not just, let's get rid of the rest of the grip on those tyres. Whatever's left, time to get them absolutely gone.
A really good race there from start to finish. There was a lot of questions about what strategy would work there. 2 very different strategies at the front for P1 and P2, and either one really could have worked. It was really just, a mistake there from Convoy. Something in the pit stop. I'm not quite sure what it was. It was just that little bit longer, and Cale managed to get ahead and decided the race. Do you want to run us through the order?
I will indeed. And we've had a question in chat as well from T-Mac. Will this give Ethan a chance in the championship, or is JC too far ahead? There's definitely still a chance. JC is going to have a pretty bad time at Spa in order to lose the lead of the championship. But overall, Cale and Convoy and Taylor, your top 3 in Pro class. Looking down to the Silver class, we do have McLaws with Begg and Ben Deek, your top 3 for them. Pro-Am class, we do have Bowen, a great win there in the Pro-Am class. Carter and Ben Thomas, you had a bit of a bad race overall, but still P3 in Pro-Am. And then for the Am class, it is Sebi taking another race win here for the Am class drivers. Hayden Marsh with a great result there, P17 overall. And then Lawrence, who had that 15-second penalty, will drop towards the end of the grid, and Graham as well. But I think overall, a very, very good and mostly clean race here from Split Blue. Very well done to all the drivers out there. I think at this stage, Jamie Convoy still has enough of a lead to potentially take this victory. Cale could still do it. It's a good result there. Cale does need to get 2 victories in the row and needs to hope for some bad luck for Jamie Convoy, but we will see how that all eventuates as we go into round 10. Coming up next week, we're off to Spa-Francorchamps in Belgium. It's going to be a fantastic race to round out a 10-race season. It has been a great season here, and well done to all the Split Blue participants. But yes, we're going to start going and heading towards a break. So we will say thank you very much from myself, George Cook. And Mike, been an absolute pleasure having you in the comm box today.
Yeah, thanks, George. It's been great. Good race by all, and yeah, looking forward to hearing the commentary and seeing what happens in the next split.
Exactly right. And a big thanks, of course, to Glenn, Jermaine, and all the admins in OOR. Thank you very much. And stay tuned, everyone. Give us a like and subscribe. Remember to, if you want to become a patron, you get 5% off at simrigs.com. And does help us out here in OOR as well. But stay tuned. We've got Split Red coming up for you in a short time after our break. So thank you very much. See you soon.
back, everyone, to the Simrigs Sprint Series, where we kick it off with the final AP split of the week, Split Red. Now, looked like Split Blue was pretty clean. Do we reckon that Split Red's going to be the split blood that we are all expecting? My name's Luke Johnson. I've got Connor Hine in the booth with me, mate. Connor, how are you feeling tonight?
Yeah, good. I'm expecting some bloodthirsty split red, split blood carnage. Good day, everyone, and good day, chat. What do we reckon is going to happen into turn 1 or turn 3?
It's going to be chaos if my curse history is anything to go by. I think it's definitely going to be on. It's going to be spicy, and I'm definitely looking forward to it.
I mean, it's the mad dash down to the chicane. It's all the straight line speed, and then into one of the slowest corners, probably, really in the game, I guess, or like at least on this track. As we're on board with Peach, the Kovacs kebab shop, looking to he'd be nearly cemented the championship. Is that far in front, correct?
It'd have to be pretty close. I think when we were looking at it last round, he was basically untouchable, and he also crossed the line in P1 for that race as well. So I just about dare say if we bring up the points at any point, we can definitely confirm. There we go. Yeah, look, I dare say that each here is run away with the championship, being absolutely unstoppable. That is a dominating performance, if you want to call it that. I don't know what other words you describe it.
There is so aside from Peach, who's just set himself above and beyond everyone else in this split, there seems to be a bit of a battle between Hill, Maddox, Tafiq and Kyrudin for P2, so that'll be spicy. As you go down to Silver class, it also looks to be spicy between Johnson and Dreyer, separated by just under 30 points there.
It's alright.
Kumar seems to be running away with the Pro-Am Championship as well. He's a bit over 120 odd points up over Pete Chalmers, and a further 27 points back is Scott Rochford. If we scroll down a little bit, we'll probably get an idea on the AM Championship.
Yeah, it looks like we've only got a couple of AMs in this one, but we've got Gary Lau there at the top, who's a good 30 points in front of his next rival. So yeah, definitely an opportunity over the next couple of rounds, the final 2 rounds, for that championship to spice up a little bit. And then it looks like we've got a few people missing out here on this one. So yeah, looks pretty spicy for the silver Pro-Am and the AM championships, but unfortunately for that Pro Championship, I dare say that one's just about done and dusted.
Yeah, that's a massive lead. That's crazy. That would nearly mean he's probably won nearly every single race.
Yeah, unfortunately I haven't kept with the entire history of this split, but I dare say that would just about be the case. As we see, coming around final bend, he's half a second up. This will be a commanding 46.9, setting the fastest lap there.
Yeah, we're
in front of his brother.
dipping into the 46s already with the 46.9. It's a good lap. I reckon he's got a 46 mid in him at least, JP, and I reckon John can dip into the 46s as well, considering both in McLarens. The McLaren is quite the rocket ship around here. Tafiq is a little far back as we're on board with Lai, who is 7/10 up, and the 47 flat puts him in the P2. Good lap.
Yeah, damn, and we also see Simrigs there as well, not far behind in third. So a couple of cars there separating the Sanikai brothers. So yeah, plenty of space to fill.
Yeah, well, the top 4 separated by 3/10 there. As well on board, going through Lesmo 2 with John. He's just hovering around being up in the green. He's 2/100ths, so let's see how he takes Ascari. Peach is 2/10 up though going into Ascari. Let's see how much, and takes a lot of curbing onto entry. You can really fire the McLaren through all of that curbing through Ascari.
Yeah, I found it was really stable over the entry curbs there, and if you just set it right over on the exit, you can absolutely fly over that curb. And honestly, I think it's a bit disgusting how much curb you could take in the car like the McLaren. As we see, he's now up to 2.5 tenths, hovering around that mark, and that'll bring him up to the 46.67. So it's what we expect from Peach, and like you said, the mid 46s there, I still think he's got another tenth or two in him.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I reckon if Shady pops it in the P3, Shady's another driver who might not have the best consistent championship overall, but he's on that level of driver the same as Peach, who can also challenge for pole positions and wins. So it'll be interesting to see how he fires around this lap.
Yeah, he's a pacey boy, that's for sure. So yeah, it'll be definitely, I wouldn't be saying that pole position's definitely secured just yet. There's definitely a few drivers up there, but we're seeing, as we look at the top big cars being McLaren, I think there's a bit of a pattern here as to the strongest car might be.
No, I don't know. I think we need to look and check. I think it's not kind of standing out.
But there are a few Ferrari drivers throughout this championship that may have been making a swap to the McLaren for the last 2 rounds in particular. You wouldn't know anything about that, would you, Connor?
Nah, my heavily modified Ferrari GTR wouldn't know anything about it, unfortunately.
Okay, so you are the Ferrari in Legion with Ferrari. You didn't make any changes last night at all. With the livery on your car was very interesting to say the least last night. I don't think you applied for a new livery, so the transfer across to your new car last night was pretty fantastic.
Yeah, it was a mismatched abomination that kind of looked like a half-dead cow, but that's all right.
In my opinion, I think it kind of worked for what you were going for. As we see, Drea across the line hasn't got anything on the Delta at this point in time, so he'll be looking to pop on some fresh rubber and go out and try again.
Top
now
5.
2 tenths up. Yeah.
Top 5 separated by 5/10. And you're starting to see people like Sun Joto, Samuel only a 2 tenths off Peach there, 3 tenths back to Bly. So as we watch John be 3 and a bit tenths up, lost a little bit on exit there. You really gain a lot through the Lesmos depending on how hard you attack them. Hard on the brakes, gets on the power nice and consistently. Gained a little bit, lost a little bit on exit.
I'm always surprised at how far you can go out on exit there. The rest of the track seems like you really got to keep it really fine within the lines, and then you get the Lesmos, and that's just, you can go out as far as you like and just run out way off the line there and just try and maximise that exit as much as you can. But he's managed to try and keep his speed up. He's gaining a lot of the time through Ascari. Let's see how much curb. He takes a fair bit of curb. Keeps the Delta slowly slipping, but 3 tenths up if you can manage to keep it through the Parabolica. It'll be potentially good enough for at least P4.
Track limits here are just essentially an imagination. They're a mere illusion to what you can actually do in some corners. It's ridiculous.
He's 3 tenths up, so he'll be really happy with that one. And into third. Well done.
46.9, P3. I reckon he's still got a little bit more time in him. As I reckon Peach, and I don't know much about Sanjoto, but he seems pretty speedy, so...
Yeah, absolutely. He's definitely got the pace, and I think he's well and truly on track to potentially take Peach for that pole position. If you can manage to just grab a little bit of extra time, use a little bit more of the track, He's definitely on track to do so. As we see, yep, camera was moving. No, I thought there was an accident there for a second and we'd lost somebody. But yeah, unfortunately, Sinjono in this lap he's in the red. And unfortunately probably won't be challenging this lap, so hopefully he can get round in one piece and tighten the belt buckle as we go again. As we see Shady now coming through the first sector. Lost a little time there at exit, yeah.
The chat, so Mayor Rose and quite a few others, same as George Cook, are very correct. This is split McLaren, it seems, as the overall leaderboard down in your bottom left corner is full of one singular badge. Wild.
Yeah, it's starting to look a little bit like a spec series at the moment. But as a McLaren loyalist, I'm not too disappointed by it.
But here's the thing, as Chad has pointed out, is it an advantage to be in the McLaren if everyone else is in the McLaren in the split? There you go, think about that one.
Hey, that's definitely that should be the next poll for Chad, I think. We'll get their opinion on it. If everyone's super, then no one is.
Everyone's super together. Super together.
As that's probably a little bit too far off the limit there.
Sinjono heard us on comms and was immediately like, I will show you what track limits are.
Yeah, exactly. But Lai here, almost 3 tenths up, looking very pacey, and this is only just then not deciding to bail out there. I thought he was on for a really good time there, and then just managed to bail out. Must have missed the braking zone going into the second chicane there. But we're seeing a lot of times being gained as people are coming out of the first chicane and up through the Cape Grande. So definitely lots of time to be made there by everyone.
What?
We see, yep.
Found last night that, it's a hot attempt, and obviously with all the cars lapping towards the end, you want to be out towards the end of the session because it will creep up and rubber up more. But there was kind of this switch where it kind of just rubbered up really quickly, and you just gain time like that.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I found that my last few laps at the end of the session last night definitely suddenly time just appeared out of nowhere. So I know that for our session in particular, it started off in the end of practice session, still kind of in the fast stage, and moved into optimum. So I don't know if that played a part in it, but people coming around now they'll be onto their last laps. Between Shady lose all of his time through the Parabolica, unfortunately. He'll be a little bit mad about that one, as he was potentially 2.5, 3 tenths up. So he'll be looking to complete his last lap now if he's got the fuel for it, as we'll start seeing the first lot of runners coming across the line, securing their laps and finishing up the session.
So Page has secured his lap, so the preliminary pole is 46.6 currently. Sinjono, unless he has an absolutely miracle Ascari, I don't reckon is going to get it. He's hovering. Jeez, that's so much.
A lot of curb.
That is.
You got to send it. You got to send it. It's your last lap. You got nothing to lose. You got to send it. So kudos to him for that. But unfortunately, it didn't pay off. You see, Page is in the pits as well, so he's happy with his 46.6. We'll see if John or Shady can give him any trouble. And the rest of the field there is all in the pits as well. So unless we have any surprise last-minute runners, I'd say the field's just about set.
And John's down, according to Glenn in comms, so that's unfortunate. So the standings have kind of stayed the same. Shady will improve by a little bit. If he can get this, it might be a P2. As he rounds Parabolica, firing up towards the main straight. He's losing a lot of time there on exit. Oh, he's kept it this time. He's kept in. And P2, 46.7.
Yeah,
Good lap.
P2, well done. Yeah. Yep, so that's the end of the session. So you've got Peach Sanikas on pole, followed by Shady Samuel, who did a fantastic last-ditch lap, followed by Sunjoto and John Sanikas. And then we have Lau, Hill, Mags, Drea, Murphy, all in the McLaren. And then our first non-McLaren is Tufik, who's second in the championship at the moment. In the Ferrari, so he's managed to stick it out, followed by Kumar, and then the first Lamborghini in Maddox. So looking pretty standard. It looks like the top runners are all there. Our usual suspects are all floating up the top there, and as they'll be readying up their setups for their 3 mandatory pit stops, looking forward to this race kicking off. As we're seeing there in chat, a lot of requests for the Jaguar. It is disappointing that no Jags are in the season. We all wish to have a Jag in each of the splits, and I think what needs to happen is next season we just need to have a dedicated Jag for each split, just to see what the true differences are. But as we make a run down the field, checking out some of these fantastic liveries. All the different variants in McLaren liveries. I love that Matchbox looking one. That's sick. I still think that one on the left there is inspired by Patrick Star from SpongeBob. I'm yet to receive confirmation on that one.
It absolutely must be.
I'll die on that hill. Happy to die on that hill.
I see it. I see it. I see my favourite livery.
It's Connor's favourite livery. Here it is.
Just look at that Atlanta Hawks Porsche. Just look at it. I reckon. Ah!
We're going to avoid it entirely.
I'll tell you what, I'll give him a shout out. He just raced just before in Split Blue. He did also have some milk on milk carnage, but I reckon Brad Cook wishes that he could make a Porsche look that good.
Those wings are worth 5 extra horsepower for sure.
Oh, absolutely.
And we have a spicy looking blue and crimson looking McLaren. And then of course the Bentley at the back, which we love the representation here, but it unfortunately sits where I think it belongs at this stage. But I don't want chat to start breaking out into a bop argument again.
I don't know what you mean. So... I don't know what the good car is here. Could chat and Luke and Glenn please enlighten me on what the good car is? I just don't know.
I think my joke at Bathurst went over a few people's heads last time because I was asking sarcastically what BOP meant, because clearly balanced performance wasn't it, and everyone kept telling me afterwards that I'm pretty sure if you Google it, BOP means balanced performance, and I was like, yeah, no, I understand, but clearly at this point in time, the McLaren is definitely the dominant car.
Now, let's talk race strategies.
Race strategies has been the hot topic for the last 24 hours.
Will we see, and chime in on this chat, will we see the lap 1 pit, the big brain 1000 IQ lap 1 pit?
We'll call it the Rashudi pit at this point.
So we had in green last night, we had Stefano Rashudi do the lap 1 pit, followed by a safety car, so it worked out to nullify the stop completely. And then in blue just before, we had Kale do it, and it worked immensely well. Not quite as good as Rashudi's, but immensely well to aid him in his success. Will we see it again?
I think it's hard to ignore at this point. I I think if you look at the last two splits and the outcome, somebody definitely in split red's going to try it out. I think that by pointing it out, though, I'm going to curse it and say they're going to go for the split, the lap 1 pit, and it's going to completely backfire in the opposite direction.
Oh, don't do it. Don't do it to him.
Yeah, if I say it now, it'll work out. It's opposite. Whatever the commentators say, the opposite happens.
So if I say only one car is going to go into T1 at Monza just in a few seconds' time, does that mean the opposite will happen?
Absolutely, you're now going to see 5 cars go into turn 1. 100%.
Success.
Absolutely. If we judge by how they've all just started lining up double file, this is going to be a very interesting race start, and I'm really looking forward to it.
I agree, Mia. I agree. If I see Peach pit 2, I will be very cross because you should not pit from the lead.
Yeah, from the lead, that would be an interesting decision if he does that.
Do you want to take us away, Luke, on the start?
Absolutely, I am ready to curse the crap out of Split Blood, so let's go. We've got Peach at the start, in pole position, Shady in second, Sanjoto in third, Johnson Ekus in fourth, Kai in fifth, Hill in sixth, and we are looking to cross the start finish line and go green. There is a ton of gaps there. That scares me in terms of how much carnage this could potentially cause at T1 as we go across the line. It looks like we've gone green. Yes, we have. It is actually looking very spaced out at the moment. This could be, could this be a clean turn 1? As we see Shady try and take him, Peach around the outside, and we've already got a McLaren off. We've got one backward. I don't know who that is. Maddox has survived. Everyone's actually managed to get in there pretty clean. I see a few yellows around, but that's actually a very clean turn 1 relative to what I've seen and been a part of. As we see Sanjoto still in third, Shady right on the back of Peach. It looks like the order is roughly stayed as it started for at least the top 4 runners. Peach is still very much in front. Shady close behind in second, but they've already started to gap Sanjoto and Hill. I can't see where Johnson Ekus is potentially on the field. No, there he is. He's up in third, so Sanjoto there losing out, unfortunately, dropping a position to John. But we've already started to form a couple of pairings here. There's big gaps between Shady and John, and then Sanjoto to Hill. As we see, Lyle will be right on the back. We've got Carnage into Ascari. We've got what looks like potentially an incident there. Has definitely been helped off. In that instance, he'll be dropping down from 6th to 29th. He'll be very unhappy with that one, unfortunately.
Probably going too wide into the entry in the Ascari here as we have...
Graham, this is Graham Hill. So he was up there in 5th, and Hill and Lime look like they've come together in some sort of... you see his name tumble down the leaderboard side by side. With Lau in the BMW. But overall, Connor, that's actually a relatively not too... as we see plenty of cars going into pit lane. I can't count on the map, but how many cars is that? That is easily looking to be at least 4 or 5 have dived in there. So everyone trying to make use of the number 1 strat.
Yeah, you've got a few people just trying the strat out. I mean, like, if you've got the pace, you may as well do it. There was a bit of sadness on the start there, a little bit for some drivers, but it was mostly clean. As well on board with Shady, who is... Peach is starting to build a bit of the gap, but these 4 up the front are definitely the pace of the field currently.
Absolutely, they are the fastest of the fast here in this split at this point in time. Mags, Dreyer, Murphy obviously gaining a few positions out of the little incident that occurred last lap in Ascari, as we see all the lap 1 pitters finally move off down into the first chicane. So it'll be interesting to see where they end up relative to the rest of the field come those other pit stops from the front runners.
They have to be confident and also pacey to pretty much. As Peach puts a 47.3 in for his first flying out lap, it's good pace, and it's only going to come down from there.
Very pacey, yeah, absolutely. See Graham Hill slowly making his way back up. He was down towards 20th there after that little incident on the first lap. He's already made himself up a couple of positions, back up into 16th. So it'll be a tough recovery drive for him, but he'll be tightening the belt straps and hopefully just looking forward and can potentially pick off a few positions here and there.
I'm surprised he actually wasn't one of the ones to pick, especially losing out so many positions. You may as well just sacrifice one of your stops to get out in fresh air.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that might have potentially been a good strategy to take. You've got a little bit of damage, maybe just clean that up and avoid the... as we see, I believe that
sadness
was being taken out there in true sadness style.
It's those moments where you lose that slight lapse of concentration, especially into the deep braking zones like you've got at the chicanes, where you can just really oversend it.
Yeah, absolutely. It happens to the best of us. I'm still licking my wounds from last night's split, where I unfortunately had that exact same scenario happen, where you just kind of thinking about something else or looking at a different spot, you suddenly realise that you've got a braking marker on you, and you just go that fraction deep, and it can cause all sorts of dramas.
Yeah, and in the moment, you look back on it and you're like, how didn't I react or whatever, but in the moment it's a split second, so to react on such a thing is asking a lot.
It's just the classic Monza trap, I guess is the way to put it, as you think you can just go that fraction deeper. As we see the first lot of penalties coming through already, lie in with the collision on lap 1, so it's been deemed by the stewards that he was definitely the perpetrator for what brought him and Hill tumbling down the order in that first little kerfuffle into Ascari. So it's unfortunate. He's got 15 seconds on him. He'll have to serve that in the next pit stop, which will no doubt hurt his potential charge back up the field.
As we see Shady and JP are gapping Jonathan Giotto. Shady has the fastest lap currently, so he's got pace. He's still within that exactly second gap, so 8/10 actually. So I reckon if Shady can keep it consistent, I reckon if the strategy is good, he can take the fight to Peach this race.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's the full hour, so it's a long race, and pit stops definitely just how consistent you are with your pit stops and how well, as we see.
There is
part there, mate. I'm not sure. He must have just put his brake bias a little bit too far forward, I think, for the track.
That is definitely not just soft baguette tyre, but it's a soft baguette car. Yeah, but it's probably a disconnect of some sorts, which is unfortunate. You don't like to see that happen when it's out of the driver's control, but it does happen, unfortunately.
Yeah, it is unfortunate. There's nothing. I can't think of a worse feeling than getting comfortable cruising along and then suddenly the disconnect from the server. So hopefully he can jump back in and continue his race. But that's super unfortunate and definitely interesting. I think for the other drivers on field who suddenly see a car facing the wrong way. As we look at Shady on the timing boards, he put in another cracker of a lap and is improving on his fastest laps at the moment. So he's definitely gaining on Peach. As we see this little battle pack here looking, oh no! That was well avoided. Well done, Rochford. That was fantastic. I thought that was going to be 4 cars in the ditch, but that was well done. And great job from Kilby as well, who managed to kind of just team coming and avoid it. But yeah, unlucky there, Rochford. Hopefully you can kind of catch back up on the back of this field, because that little battle pack was getting spicy.
This little battle pack is getting spicy, because these were the guys, wasn't it Rochford that was only a lap or two ago taken out? So
Yeah,
they're getting kind of reckless with each other, and you love to see it going so early.
yeah, and we see that looks like Tufik down there as well in 19, who's on the back of Kilby there. I didn't realise that was him. He qualified much further up the field, and he's still got his full lot of pit stops going. He makes a brilliant move down into the Parabolica. That was very well controlled and great driving, great awareness from Kilby again, as he goes side by side with Lai now. As we see, he's just going to have, looks like he's going to have the better top speed at this point. That McLaren with no wing is a speedy boy. As we... Oh, very well done there by Kilby again. It was, move was on, and he's managed to pull it up great. And unfortunately, it looks like this battle pack might be over for now. But it'll be interesting to see how Lai, if he can get on the back of 2P.
The peak, I believe, was the car out in the grass at turn 1 that had been assisted off the track.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, no, that makes sense. That is a speed token.
That's a line.
Used there. That's the esports line. As he gets a little bent up over the some of the bumps going to Scary. I was about to say he was looking very speedy. He was right on the back of Peach there at one point, and he's definitely been pumping out some consistently, well, the fastest laps of the race so far. So, if I was Peach right now, would be starting to sweat just a little bit with how pacey Shady might be at this point in time.
Yeah, absolutely. He just needs to refocus, knuckle in. He lost almost a second and a half, bit under a second and a half, so he just needs to refocus and aim back in. I reckon, yeah, they've got the pace over the field at the moment, but as you can see, even mistakes happen to the most accomplished drivers.
Yeah, that's it, mate. It's definitely just, as we see right there, looking a little bit bent out of shape there. He may have gone off there at the first chicane there, taking again the esports line. That'll put him back down into 11th with a very fast-looking Ferrari right behind him. As we hopefully see this little battle pack with Palmer with the extra 5 horsepower from his livery, hopefully getting onto the back of this battle pack and causing all sorts of spiciness.
It's 10 horsepower, 5 for each wing, and an extra 100 for how good it looks as he goes into the dirt. What are you doing, Brad? Come on!
Yeah, I don't want to say it's a curse. I don't like cursing people, but I'm pretty good at it. So hopefully he can steady himself and get up on the back of this pack. This whole pack of Murphy, Do White, and Leo is looking pretty good right now. I'm interested to see how this one plays out.
You watch Shady put in a 46.7 flat. That's a good lap. That's a rocket of a lap.
That's a great lap. As I was saying, Shady just seems to be pumping out the fastest lap after lap. So Ufig down the outside of Parabolica. He's potentially getting at the switchback here, but he's better be careful because Lai is right behind him as we look like we're going to go too wide as looks like Lai goes into the pits. So Tafiq, Lau side by side. That Beamer looks like it's got a pretty decent top speed over the Ferrari, which we know is probably abysmal in top speed. He's going to have the inside for T1, but on the exit of the chicane, it's going to be side by side. It's going to be on the outside. Has he got the drive out? It doesn't look like he has, and Lau's managed to gain that position. Kilby right behind him, it looks like.
It was good clean driving there to go too wide into the first chicane. So hats off to them. Good defence by Lau to hanging around the outside for the first bit. Tafiq's right there though, and he's putting his nose out to have a look, which you got to. Ooh, he keeps it there, but yeah, tucks back in. Good choice to tuck back in there. Cop the toe and see if we can get back round for the straights.
Yeah, as inviting as it is, the two Lesmos corners is just, they're not really overtaking opportunities. They're you kind of just need to expect and go single file through there for the most part, unless you're super confident on a move coming up. As we go into Ascari, we've got Lau still on the defense. Absolutely munches the curbs on entry. Munches a bit of curb on the exit. I think Tafiq's got the greater speed here from the exit of the corner. Kilby's going to sit back and see if any spiciness happens between the two of them before he gets his nose involved. Now defensive into Bollicker. Little bit loose on the exit, and we're going to have a bit of deja vu from last lap as Tafiq says, you know what? The defense on Lau's too good for me at this point in time. I don't want to deal with that. Let's go into the pits, let's put on some fresh rubber and see if we can get the undercut.
Yeah, it's a good move by Tafiq. Get out in the fresh air. Looking at the track map, everyone's on one side of the track, so he should have a bit of like space to himself really when he comes out to kind of see if he can get that undercut done. As we go with John, who Sunjoto has overtaken John. Huh.
Yeah.
I wonder when that happened.
Otto's made that position back up, which, yeah, not sure how long ago that was, but he's definitely got John right on his butt, looking to try and see if he can make a move. It'll be interesting to see here whether John, in losing that position, might consider making a pit stop and see if he can make up a bit of time in the pits. But yeah, no, interesting to see that the order up the top has changed.
As you see as well, Shady has reeled in JP by 1.5 seconds. So he has the pace as JP and Shady come into the pits together. I don't know, if I was Shady, I don't know, if I was Shady, I would nearly stuck out another lap, unless it didn't have fuel or anything, but I would have stuck out another lap in the fresh air, but yeah. Or undercut if Peach wasn't going to.
Exactly, it might have been, or so we've got a bit of dogging here through the first chicane. Yeah, it seems like there may have potentially been, might be a fuel issue, where he potentially doesn't have the legs to go that little bit further. Or they're running the Team Kovac strategy and they've all decided that this was the lap to come in. As we see, yes, Bentley getting out of the way. Blue flags there. Sunjoto is our leader at the moment, which will no doubt change as the pit stops start coming in.
Yeah, John's just hit that inside bit of Ascari and gone wide, and Sunjoto said, thanks for coming. I will
Take that.
I will take that. Yeah, even the McLaren doesn't like that full inside curbing.
Yeah, no, I've taken that curve a few times where it's definitely spat me out the other end. So it's a bit of a risk when you take that much curve coming out of Ascari and the McLaren. So yeah, it's a bit of a lotto draw, that one. As we see, Sunjoto goes around. Will he don't think he's going to pit at the moment. I think he's going to try and run away as much as he can. I don't know how well that strategy is going to go out as these tyres start going off, unless he thinks he's banging out PB laps. So we're back on board now with JP and Shady, and they're running very close together. As you see, Shady will definitely be having the tow through the straights at this point in time. Coming into Ascari, much the curb on the entry. See how much curb he takes on the exit. A lot of curb on the exit. Shady even more curb, and taking the wide line there, eating a little bit of dirt, but he doesn't seem to have lost that much time, and being in the tow there will actually probably gain a little bit, if anything. Come through the Parabolica onto the home straight. There's a few cars in the pits there, so these guys will probably jump up the field. Shady's very wide through the Parabolica compared to Page's tighter radius there. But Shady will be in the tow, and he's definitely got a lot of speed on JP at the moment. JP are a little bit defensive, a little bit of weaving here. Onto the brakes. Into the first chicane. Looks like the exit was just about even. I think maybe Page had the better exit there, but it's very close racing for the top step, provisional top step at this point in time.
Was John? John was close-ish to these guys, right, before the stop?
He wasn't too far away.
Yeah, he's lost some time in the pits or somewhere on the in-lap or out-lap, because he's now dropped nearly 11 seconds to the back of Shady, so...
Definitely wasn't that far away.
Had an off or something somewhere, maybe?
Yeah, maybe he's come out on cold tyres, or maybe he didn't land in his pit box correctly, or... I'm not quite sure on that one, Connor. I don't know what exactly has happened there, but yeah, John losing a lot of time to the front runners. And that might play into Sujoto's hands when he finally... Oh, as we see, Shady is absolutely lost it coming out of Ascari.
He's absolutely... Wow, yeah, he's taken more. I know the Macca can take a lot of curbing there, but either he's taken too much or he's just got the line wrong. He's absolutely whacked the back of the wall, and it looks like mid to rear damage as well on the McLaren. So, do you run? He might do a damage maintenance lap, see what it's like.
See what it's like. See what our top speeds are. See what our times are relative.
Yeah,
and then
yeah.
I think that's a very used looking McLaren at this point in time. I thought from the last lap beforehand where he went a little bit wide and kissed the dirt, that was a bit of a warning, and unfortunately he hasn't heeded it, and he's planted that McLaren firmly into the outside wall of the exit of Ascari, and that's going to be absolutely costly. This could play right up into John's hands, and even more so Sunjoto, as he still hasn't completed any laps, any pit stops yet. So it'll be interesting to see when he does make that stop, which we've now called it. He's now into the pits. It'll be very interesting to see how far in front of, first off, John, whom he was battling with before John made his pit stop. And now where Shady comes out relative as well. So all things coming up Sunjoto at this point in time.
We have a request in chat by Gorilla Snapper to go into Shady's car to see what the steering angle was like coming out of Ascari. So that's a better line there. So Glenn could probably get on that for us. The steering angle's fine.
So we see him do a couple of little wiggles to see if he's got all bit spiky under braking there. Lots of movement, but I know Shady in general has a lot of wheel movement. He's gonna stay out, he's gonna do another lap. 147.5, so he is losing precious seconds there. Well, that does not look fun going into that braking zone there. I don't know about you, but that looked like it was skatey as all hell.
So they've both jumped Sanjodo. So Shady and JP both jumped Sanjodo, but but Sanjodo's jumped John.
On.
So
He was in front because John made that error coming out of Ascari. So I think, yeah, they've more or less turned up in roughly around the same spots, but you would think that the undercut there at this point, considering that Shindo's gone nearly 25 minutes on the same set of tyres, may have... yeah, it's hard to tell exactly what's going on during John's pit stop stage, but these guys are much further behind JP than what they were before pit stops.
I mean, is it a thing now? So like so Sanjodo has to put his head down now and see if he can get within distance of the wounded Shady, who's only 6 and a bit seconds up the road. So I reckon it's doable, but Peach is a further 4 seconds. So, and the way they're lapping, that's gonna be a mighty ask to keep running along like that. Depends, I suppose, what pace is he doing? You don't really know. 47.1 is the best, but see what his pace is at the end of this next lap.
Yeah, he is running, I guess, half a second a lap at this point, roughly, before the pit stop, slower than Shady. That's definitely hurt Shady, though. Shady's pulling out another mid-47, so he is losing nearly a second a lap at this point in time, and you do wonder, depending on how much damage Shady's picked up in that incident, whether it be 10, 15, 20 seconds or so, whether it's worth it. I guess at this point in time, his decision is, as he goes almost into the grass there, his decision is to keep it going. He's a very speedy boy, and even with the damage he's picked up, a mid-47 is still some fast lap times, but I guess if he's going to go for the lead, unfortunately that lap pace is just not going to quite match Page's.
Yeah, that's it, and it might be maybe tyres were just going off and he just got the line wrong. You don't really know, but I mean at this stage now with the slight damage and the speed still kind of being okay, maybe just consolidate P2 for Shady and fight off Sanjodo from behind.
Yeah, absolutely. As we look down the leaderboard now, we look across the track map. It seems like for the most part, everyone seems to have spread out a little bit, giving themselves their 2, 3, 4 second gaps up and down the field. We see, as we look down, Tafik there in 14th, so he's made a couple of positions on his recovery drive from his lap 1 incident. He's within a second of Leo there. We've got Palmer in 3/10 off the back of Lau, so he'll be looking to get that Porsche well and truly up the field. Hopefully get, I mean, Lau's defense there before was fantastic against Tafik, so Tafik's definitely jumped him in the pits and has got that position, and now we see Palmer in what looks to be the start of another little battle pack here between Lau, Palmer, Rochford, who's had a couple of little moments in the last few laps, and Lai, who's also on a bit of a recovery run at the moment. He has served his 15-second penalty and will hopefully be trying to make his way up the field.
I believe it's the same battle pack as before in the previous stop, but it's just the ball jumbled around and kind of mixed up a little bit. So it's interesting to see that they're all sticking together still.
One thing, the only person missing from that, sorry, was Kilby, who's dropped down a few positions from one of these guys. So he was up there before. Remember, he was trying to keep his nose clean out of the whole too quick Lau battle that was going on, and he's dropped off considerably there. So I'm not quite sure what's happened to him. But yeah, sorry, go on. I cut you off there.
Maybe it's the stop. I don't know. Maybe the stop got him and he had to be moved or something. But one thing I've noticed since commentating this split is that Lau for an AM driver, one, should have a Pro-Am badge. And two, his defence for his class against drivers of a high class has been incredible to watch throughout the rounds that I've commentated. He just places his car really well. Doesn't do anything risky, just like, you know, defends hard-nosed and places the car in all the right spots to make sure that he can keep his own.
Yeah, absolutely. Split red used to be my old stomping ground before I made the jump to split green this season. And I've come up against Lau a few times, and yeah, if there's one thing, is just he stays calm, he stays cool, doesn't really bothers him who's behind him. So we have Palmer here right up on the back of Lau, but we'll see, he just takes his line, he sticks to it, and yeah, he's an incredible defender.
So watch, Palmer's gonna try and stick around there. Let's see what kind of move Palmer makes as he sticks the nose out and tucks back in. Otherwise, he probably didn't have as he's just...
He's got the push things!
He's clipped the back of his car's clipped that inside curbing there, and it's just sent him around a little bit. It was good to keep it out of the wall and to keep it off the grass, but it's a shame that the battle kind of didn't really start.
That's it, it was just getting spicy, and unfortunately the push things kick in. Just seen clip that curb. That's just unfortunate, but he hasn't lost too much time, and he was looking pretty pacey, so hopefully he'll be looking to game back up onto the back Rochford. As we see, it'll be now Ly's turn to see if he can get onto the back of Lau and try and make the move. So far he's watched Palmer have a crack and not succeed, so it's now his turn.
Kind of like next man up mentality, isn't it? It's like, oh, you've had a go, so now I'll have a go, and now I'll have a go.
Lau's just the brick wall at this point in time, and it seems like everyone's struggling to get past it. It's just like, yep, here's your ticket, you're up next. Depending on how Ly goes in this lap around, it might be Rochford's turn coming up next.
Yeah, just go through them all and see if they can get past him. As we've had, I just looked down the leaderboard at Keys in 26. He's completed all his stops. So let's see what he'll have very used tyres by then compared to everyone else, but let's see if that can drag him up the order a little bit.
Yeah, it's a bold strategy. We'll see if it pays off, Cotton. As we see the Bentley, Zigri in the Bentley up into 20th. So from someone who did start at the very back of the field, that's a fantastic effort for him to get as he's moved up into 6th now. So I do know that the next round of pit stops will be rolling in as everyone kind of sticks to the 15-minute per stint strategy. So we will see the orders jumble up now as Ly's trying to get around Lau, and so far has not been successful. As we see him get a little bit squirrely on the exit.
Tank slapper, absolute tank slapper and a half. He's kept it though.
He's going to have the run, he's definitely got the speed, but Lau's just going to position that BMW perfectly into the start of the parabolic. He's gone very wide on the exit, hoping to gain that speed, and we will go side by side down the main straight. Kind of seen this before. We're going to see the McLaren is going to... Oh, that's a risky move, that one. Diving directly in front of your opponent just as you head into a braking zone is very, very risky. Lau's done a great job keeping his awareness up there, and and not run into the back of him.
Good move by Lai though. Confident and has got the job done. So you can't give him credit. That was a good move.
Yeah, absolutely. Credit where credit's due. As we see the top runners here, we've still got Sunjoto in front of John. John hasn't been able to apply much pressure at this point. He's within that 7.7 of a second behind him, and he hasn't really gained much ground at this point. So Sunjoto's just kind of cruising along at the moment. Remembering he did take, as we see John dive into the pits there. As Sunjoto will be on fresher rubber, considering he absolutely lengthened his first stint as much as he could. Kumar here on the back of I do apologise. Side by side.
Yeah,
That's
good move
fantastic
into the
move.
braking
Yeah,
zone.
well done.
Good job on both drivers keeping it clean.
Yeah, absolutely.
Kumar moves up in the 16th, and Doe will do. I reckon Doe. No, I don't know. Butchering this name sounds wrong.
I'm not going to speculate. I'll let you do all the speculating here. But yeah, no, that was a fantastic move into the braking zone of the second chicane. Do be wondering if he can get back onto the slipstream of the Ferrari, which doesn't have the greatest top speed. It's not too bad, but the BMW, as he eats a bit of dirt on the exit there, the BMW definitely has a bit of pace to it. As we see Hill not too far behind, gaining slowly on the back of him, who also's got Zahayi? I'm also butchering last names here, I do apologise. He's brought him in tow as well. So this two little battle packs of 2 might become a bigger battle pack of 4 in a lap or 2 to come.
Yeah, absolutely. As we look at, so if you look up the order as well, Samuel has been jumped. He's obviously repaired damage and has been jumped by John. No, JP, sorry. No, okay, so no, he hasn't. He hasn't repaired damage. But those guys have done their next round of pit stops with 1 more to go.
Yep, so just seeing who else has completed their next round of pit stops. It looks like for the most part, the front runners here we've got with Sunjoto, Maddox, Johnson, Murphy, DeLeo, Lau, Rochford, they're all still have only completed 1 pit stop at this point in time. As we'll no doubt see, there we go, Johnson, Murphy have jumped in. Yeah, John is within 4 seconds of Samuel, so maybe Shady did repair that damage. We'll wait until the timer board kind of flicks in. So yeah, Shady's now 11 seconds behind JP. I don't know what his delta was going into the pits. He was bleeding time after that incident with the damage that he picked up. Sunjoto here, he was doing the long run. It'll be interesting to see what his strategy is going in after completing, as we said, about 20-25 minutes on that first stint. So whether he's just going to go 2 quick, equal-sized stints, or whether he plans on leading this one out a little bit longer again, and then doing a really, really short final stint. And it'll be interesting to see. He's got 2 pit stops to go, so he's going to have to start sorting that out with only 20 minutes left in the race.
Yeah, well, so his last lap was at 48 flat. You'd think that you'd be pitting now for your next one, and then kind of, because you want the tyres to come up as well for your last stint. So I don't know what the strategy, unless he's going to do a last lap pit, but he's got to be ahead enough for that to actually happen. So
again, another bold strategy. See, Maddox now is in the pits. Oh, that's the esport line. Shady's now 12 to 13 seconds. Rochford's in the pits. He didn't get a chance to overtake Lau on track. But it'll be interesting to see here who comes out first out, who can nail this pit stop and come out first.
Especially with these guys being so close for the majority of the race from what we've seen. Let's see if they switch it up again after the first pit stop.
Absolutely, like positions easily gained and lost in the pit lane. Because we're now on board with Mags. Is Mags another McLaren convert? I thought he might have been running the Ferrari at one point. Or is that me just...
He was running the Ferrari and he has switched to the McLaren. He's not like myself who's just modified the Ferrari, unfortunately.
Stuck a few extra body panels on it.
Yeah, just a wide body kit and a couple of Ferrari, Nissan and McLaren badges around the engine, you know?
Yeah. All the only cosmetic stuff. But as we see here in the little insert screen, Rochford's jumped Lau in the pits. He has come out first and has made the position up. As we see, Lau has got a DT, so that'll be converted over into a penalty for speeding in the pits, I believe. And it's been removed. As we see, Zigri in the Bentley with a stop go 30. What has caused that?
Who got a stop go 30? Zikri. Ooh, yeah, I'm interested to see. Oh no.
It's been removed.
Speeding in pit lane. Unfortunate, so that'll get the normal time put onto it.
Because of how open that pit lane entry is, it's very easy to just overdo it in the pit lane. I know last night when I was completing my pit stops, there were a few moments there where I thought to myself, "Oh crap, I'm gonna get a penalty on exit you watch," thinking I've just overcooked it into the entry. But yeah, unfortunately, Lau, not only did he lose the position to Rochford, he's also got a nice 10-second penalty to deal with. We see Murphy in the Patrick Starr McLaren right up on the back of Johnson, so looking very pacey. With only Kumar and Hill not too far behind him, so these top 10 positions all to fight for at this point in time.
Be interesting to see with Dilio haven't completed his second stop yet, where he comes out in terms of the Pro-Am lead for this race to Murphy, being that Dilio's in second on track. But I wonder if Murphy's done enough or is close enough to get the jump.
Yeah, if he's been punching out some banger laps, yeah, it'll be interesting to see how far up into the top 10 he can remain. I think just about everybody has done their stop. We see Ly's in to complete his final stop. Macaulay's in to complete his final stop of the race. We'll now start to get towards that point over the next few minutes when people will be coming into the pits to complete that final stop. Not too far off, so over the next couple of minutes, again, we'll see the order kind of jumble up a little bit, but for the most part, everyone's kind of running similar strategies. The track position is as it is at this point in time. Most positions there are all got their one stop to go. We'll see how it jumbles up again as everyone completes that last stop, and then we'll be on for the final minutes to see everyone's final position.
So Shady's only 14 seconds, but he is losing. He came out 11, yeah. So he is dropping a couple of seconds to Page. So unless Page has an off or has a moment like Shady did, it's looking pretty consolidated.
Yeah, I think Shady's biggest issue at this point in time will be John, who's ever so slowly inching closer and closer to him. He's currently only 3 seconds behind him at this point in time. So Jodo's completed another pit stop. He's 3 seconds behind John. So didn't lose too much time to him over that pit stop period. If anything, he may have actually lost the position. I think he was in front of John before John made that pit stop, I believe. So he may have lost out trying to go for the longest stint towards the start. As you see here, Delio's in for his next pit stop.
Yeah, I think the long strat for St. Jodo isn't quite paying off, especially with how long he has run both stints. So now he's got to jam a really small stint in there somewhere, which I don't know whether it's going to come this stint or the next.
Yeah, maybe he's thinking about considering the last 15 minutes as quali stints, just putting in 15 litres of fuel or so into it and just try and pump out quali equivalent laps, which would be bold strategy considering he's still got to try and get back past John again on track potentially at some point. But as we see, like, John hasn't gained on Shady this lap at all. He was 3.2 roughly around this time last lap. So the pace of Shady and John is looking relatively similar at this point in time.
Yes, especially with the damage as well, like, and the way he hit the wall. Like, Shady's holding up incredibly well to maintain the gap to John.
Yeah, like, that was a heavy hit. That looked brutal from our vision up here in the combox. A lot of side damage though, so it may not be affecting the McLaren as much as on this track as it potentially would elsewhere. As we see, yeah, John filled back down to 3.2, Sanjoto's 3.5, which is what he was not that ago. Drea, first of the silver class, is running in 5th, 6 seconds behind, with Johnson second, a little bit further behind him again. We saw Murphy still leading the Pro-Ams at this point in time in 8th. Delio ended up coming out of the pits in 12th.
Yeah, wow, it dropped a lot of time to him.
With a big gap between him and White, so hopefully he can make up a little bit of pace to see if he can aim for that top 10 finish. A couple of penalties on the board, but looks like most of them are for speeding at this point in time. Nothing major has happened since the first couple of laps. But yeah, other than that, it looks like everyone's kind of in their own little spread out space, in their own little bubbles at this point in time.
Yeah, the race is kind of evened out a little bit. The cars are also, everyone's starting to spread out more across the track. Like, if you remember early on, everyone was to one half of the track and you only had 1 or 2 people towards the other end. So everyone's just kind of running their own race really at the moment and just hoping that someone has an unfortunate off or a bit of a moment to bring them back into it.
Yeah, it's all to play for in this final pit stop that everyone has to complete. Hoping that someone potentially is, as we see, killed there, kind of run across the little white line there, directly in front of, who's that there in the Ferrari? Is that behind him?
Nah,
It's
Kuma.
So yeah, all to play for in these final pit stops. I don't know how much it will change the order based on the fact that everyone's kind of in their own space at this point in time and they've all got one pit stop to go. So I don't know if we're going to see too much of a change, unless, of course, you do get hit with the dreaded speeding in pit lane, which it looks like Lau potentially may have picked up another 10-second penalty there.
Oh no, we hyped him up too much and then just cursed him.
That's unfortunate. Sorry, Lau. You can send the bill to Lockbag 9999, Crow's Nest, New South Wales.
Or to an offshore account, you know.
Depending, yeah, it may be potentially international shipping for those deposits. But we see, yeah, the leaders have all kind of kept their distance. John's gained some time on Sinjodo as he enters the pit, so he's kind of the first one of the top 5 to make the dash in. 10 minutes to go. Drea following in behind him. I think one thing we haven't mentioned for a little while now is just that Page's lead of 15 seconds or so over Shady. He's commanded another win. Doing a fantastic job. But yeah, like these final pit stops, they could make or break certain drivers as we come into the last 10 minutes. There's always the potential to miss a pit box, accidentally flick, change brakes and sit there for another minute, beating in pit lane, doing the all sorts. So pit stops can still make or break, so there's probably a little bit of room for a position or two to be changed. Hopefully doesn't affect too many people.
Yeah, there's still the room for some people to be changed, but yeah, it's just crazy how much, again, that Peach has really commanded this race. I mean, it would have been interesting to see how Shady would have went without the off against each other battling the whole race. But I mean, you gotta have a bit of luck and fortune to ride out the whole event, really.
That's what it is. Luck and consistency is how we win races here. Whether it's a skill issue or not, that's to be debated. But yeah, it's just, as we see, top runners are in, both pitting. Don't expect too much to change there, as we've got Patrick Starr hitting the curb, going wide, pulling a check, keeps it out of the wall in the middle of the track facing the wrong way. That is not what you want to be doing. Oh, good awareness there. Please. Oh, pause. That's where that one's ended. So I hope for everyone else's sake that he managed to rejoin the right direction without causing too much incident.
Yeah, definitely when you go too wide there, even if you hit all that curb, you get to that bumpy stuff off the line and it just sends you to the moon. As we watch Peach come out of the pits completing his stop, Shady's also coming out of the pits completing his stop. So yeah, about 15-14 seconds down the road.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see when Sinjodo decides to pit. He's only got 8 minutes, well, less than 8 minutes to do so. And we've got Tufik up there as well, who also has one more stop to complete. It'll be interesting to see after his run from the very back at the start of the race to see how far up the field he managed to climb.
Where is he now? So he's second. It'll probably drop in towards the back of the top 10, I reckon.
Yeah, considering that Lau and Kilby are also in the pits at this point in time, he might manage to drop in behind Hill maybe?
Somewhere around there, Hill, Kilby, Lau, because he was around that battle pack at one stage.
So you see just about everybody except 3 now have completed their last mandatory stop. Unfortunately for Kumar, he's got another 10 seconds hanging around him at the moment, which could only drop him a position unless Lai has the pace to get onto the back of Do.
Is it do or do though? We will never know.
He will probably tell us afterwards when he abuses both getting it wrong.
That is correct.
Rightly so. We do apologise in advance. 2 fix in. He's completing his last stop, so we'll see where he ends up. We've got Greyer still leading the silver class. Johnson was second in the silver class, but has since been overtaken by Zahai. And the leading Pro-Am is Kumar. Potentially, after all... Actually, those stops and the leaderboard's definitely fixed itself since then. He might lose towards up to about 3 spots and might drop down depending on what's going on. Behind Lai, actually, he might lose the Pro-Am podium to Do.
Yeah, it's gonna drop him a bit. And I reckon Sanjoto's gonna drop back quite a bit as well. Just due, yeah, every time he's come in for a stop, the long just hasn't seemed to be working out for him.
I see a yellow flag on the exit of Ascari. I can't quite make out what number that is, but that is a lot of positions on track lost by that particular car. Unfortunately, my old man eyes could not see exactly who it was. Was that John? No, John's still on the back of Samuels. He's now put the gap down to 2.5 seconds.
Did Samuel have another up?
It might have been Lau. So he's dropped right down to 23rd now. I think it was potentially Lau in the 94 that has binned it there. He was there for a while, so he might have also been facing the wrong way at some point. But 4 minutes left to go in this race. Shady, be careful. There is John slowly gaining on him again. With Jodo still out in the lead with a pit stop to go.
I really hope he realises that it's 3 stops and not 2. As we jump on board the replay and Lau's just lost it, yeah, going through Ascari and smack bang into the wall.
Sad. We have cursed Lau so much so far. Unfortunately, we gave him some big pointers towards the start of the race, and unfortunately, it's come tumbling down with that unfortunate incident. I wonder if Shijodo realizes that. So, Connor, my understanding is that he can't complete his pit stop in the last lap. He can't pull a Michael Schumacher and try and complete his pit stop before going across the line. So, I'm not quite sure what the game plan is, but it looks like he's following what you were pointing out earlier. Yeah, race control.
It's the game. Will Shinjodo pit? Unless he's gonna pit this lap. Yeah. I don't believe you can pull the Michael Schumacher strat. I mean, like, that's the whole other end of the spectrum of the strat, isn't it? That if the game allowed it, imagine people doing it. Like,
Yeah, surely not. Because firstly, the start-finish line is very early on in the home straight. He's going to take a tight line here. Surely this is it.
yeah, he's in now. He's in.
I don't know. Will he come out in front of Mags after pulling an interesting strategy at this point in time? Tell you what though, his pit box was pretty close to the start-finish line. He may have actually been in with a shot. Because we're on board with Maddox, who's 3.5 seconds behind Drea, who's less than a second behind Mags. So with only, what have we got? Peach is about to cross the line now and retake first. So this will be his final lap. So Mags has got one more lap to hold on with a speedy looking Drea right behind him.
Sunjono is, yeah, he's going to come out in the same spot. He's going to come out in 5th.
Fourth. Mags is in 5th at the moment. And there's a decent distance
yeah.
between. But I think that's where Sojourner was running in 4th. He was behind John after his last lot of pit stops. So not a position loss, but I'll tell you what, there's been a bit of time loss there, considering that they weren't that far apart. As we see John now right on the back of Shady. We have half a lap to go. Can Shady hold on? That is a sad looking bird in the background there.
I don't think that Merck's had a good day by the looks of the bonnet.
As we're on board now with John. See if he can make any sort of moves into Ascari. It is the final lap. All to play for with 2 more braking zones to go. It looks... Oh, it's a lot of curb. He's into the dirt. I dare say that just about finishes off his chance to take any further positions, but it will be the bottom step of the podium for him. And an incredible job from Shady in 2nd to hold off the rest of the field in that damaged McLaren. And we see JP doing donuts into the walls, celebrating another dominating win.
As we've got a 10-second penalty for 512 Mark Bushell for causing a collision. That's unfortunate. But as the guys round around the final corner, JP takes another commanding win. Shade Samuel in P2, John Sonicus in a P3, Sanjono in P4, and Mags in P5.
Drea across for the first in class for silver class. And we'll see where Kumar drops down to. He's got whether he will manage to hold on to that Pro-Am podium. Johnson comes across in 10th, moving up to 9th with that penalty from Kumar. And Tufik ended up finishing 11th, which is a excellent job for him, considering the unfortunate start that he had. White was line 14th, Macaulay 15th. Rochford also had an unfortunate start as well. The boots for him. Finishing up in 16th. Gilio, who was running up the very top there at one point, down in 18th. And Palmer in your favourite livery across in 19th.
Had his little moment when he was chasing the top 15. It's sadness, but he managed to pull it up.
No worries. Connor, do you want to do the honours?
Yeah, I'll get us. So we have JP running out in P1, Shady in P2, John in P3, Sanjodo in P4, and Mags in P5. So we go to our silver class. We have Dreyer taking the win, Zuhali in P2, and Johnson in P3. We go to Pro-Am, Doe or Do in P1, so good drive by him. Kumar in P2 and White in P3. As we go to the AM battle, it was Lau alone tonight, so good win, Lau, and good way to represent the AMs.
Yeah, great job, everybody involved. Excellent racing. Fantastic job. And don't forget, guys, we'll have the Sim Magic GT3 Pro Cup this Friday, also running at Monza. So please tune in for that one. That is going to be very spicy to see the Australia and International's fastest drivers competing in the Sim Magic GT3 Cup. And stay tuned as well for the North American and European splits following on later this evening / tomorrow morning. Alrighty, well, thank you, chat, and everyone for joining in and watching us. Connor, thanks for joining me in the booth, mate. It was an absolute pleasure.
Thanks, Luke. Thanks to Mull, the stewards, the admins, and Glenn for streaming. Thanks, chat, for interacting with us. And yeah, if you want to see some more racing, get around tomorrow night to see some of the best in the categories. Go at it. And we will catch you all later.